Good evening and welcome to Poker Night Live. My name's Nick Wealthall and I'm here to bring you 4 hours of no-limit hold'em action, the most exciting game on the planet. We're going to watch real players play for real cash until 2 o'clock in the morning. I know each and every one of you will be with us till then. No excuses. With me tonight, we are once again blessed by the massive poker brain and all-consuming poker personality that is Mr. James Browning.
Nick, it's been ages.
It's been ages. Have you missed me?
Yeah, I have missed you. Yeah. But I have to say,
yes,
the hair looks great.
Thanks.
No,
I don't need your jealousy, James.
No, I do like it. I love this bit at the front. This bit.
Yeah. Well, that bit, that little grey bit. Yeah. That costs extra.
It's not your forehead. It's there. It looks like you could have been a unicorn and had the thing snapped off.
It's actually what it is it's actually a stencil in the form of one of my past lovers. See if you can guess which one. Now, guys, we are going to get to poker, I swear. We're going to have 4 hours of the stuff, but it will not be the same without your texts and your emails. That's why we're here, to talk to you guys, to help you guys improve your game. Remember, whatever you want to talk about will dictate the content of tonight's fun and festivities. Couldn't be easier to get in touch. It could, but here's how you do it. Text poker and your question to 84 and all the twos, 84222. We want to hear from you whether you've been watching the show since day one over a year ago, or if this is the first time you've flipped the channels and found us. We would love you to get in touch. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Ask us anything connected with this great game. If you don't understand a flush from a straight, ask us. If you've got a really technical question, ask us that too. And also give us your anecdotes and your funny stories and what you've been up to recently. Tell us what poker games you've been in, whether you're winning, you're losing, and why. Get in touch tonight, guys. It's Monday night. Let's start the week off right. Now, we're going to have a variety of games as ever, including the Poker Night Live League game, which is being played tonight. Let's see what we've got right now. James, take us round those magical tables.
Yes. Here we have a $5 long structure. It's always good to have a long structure. Sit and go.
So you started the night off in saucy vein.
Oh, well, it's just how you read it, I'm afraid, Mr. Wealthall.
That's true.
But you're right.
Yeah.
This is a short structure, Nick. One's down your street.
Right.
Sorry.
It's not the structure, it's how you play with it, James.
Exactly. 10-20, again a first level. Hadn't lost a player there either. And it's a cash game. It's a full table of players there. And John Boy Rebel, quite a lively player normally, I see there in seat 1. It's 25 cent, 50 cent.
He's a very lively player. He was second in the multi-table tournament I was last on Friday.
And this is our special private members league rebuy multi-table tournament.
And there's Boy with lots of chips.
And sat in seat 1 as well. Again, favourite seat.
Good for him. So, usual form. If you haven't seen the show before, that's multi-table tournament, takes a little bit longer to complete, so we'll dip in and out of it and then we'll show you the final table, which is always very exciting. And we're going to mix that up with some single table tournaments and some cash games, and we'll also have a Beat the Presenter, where you get the chance to play one of us and beat us at poker. That bit isn't guaranteed, but is the most likely outcome. Statistically, it's the most likely outcome.
It is statistically the most likely outcome.
Even if we're the best poker players in the world, which of course one of us is. Guys, as I said, it's all about you tonight. We want you to get in touch. Get those texts and emails coming in right now. Plenty of opportunities to have yours read out and answered on TV. 84222 is the text. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. On the email, type now and have it read out very soon. Let's get to some poker. We're going to go to a cash game. Just to, might start off with a cash, James.
Yeah.
Ease us in.
Ease us in there. 25 cent, 50 cent. Good idea. Maximum buy-in $50. Minimum buy-in $5. And Loosey Goosey, with a name like that, surely will play 6-7 suited.
Well, it betrays descriptions otherwise, wouldn't it?
Exactly, you have to. Bet the
Although,
lot.
to be fair, I'd probably play 6-7 suited, so... Depending on the game conditions, James.
Yes. I prefer to play it in later condition after I see a few more people in there, because I think...
That's true.
I like company when I play a hand like this, and now it's ended up heads up, which I don't think is a bargain basement. However,
do you want to call it? Check raise, she's going to take it down.
It's going to have success. Bet the lot? Well, doesn't bet the lot, but bets $3 into a $4.75. So loosey-goosey there, out of position, hit the flop, and now passed. Doesn't look like it's very profitable playing that 6-7 if you're going to play like that.
If you're going to play like that, that's 4 big blinds gone, and that is a significant amount to lose.
But what's more significant, this is one of the flops she's hit. Ouch.
Absolutely.
So I think there's a moral to this little story. If we're going to play these speculative hands, obviously one needs to have good powers of decision on the following betting rounds.
Yes.
If you feel that you're not ready or you don't have such great judgment on the following betting rounds, it's better not to play those sort of hands at all, because you'll be better off. Because that's going to take some getting back.
Absolutely.
That should have been one of the wins.
Well, by definition, when you play a lower ranking hand like that, you are going to face more marginal decisions, aren't you? And by marginal decisions, I just mean less straightforward decisions, more decisions that have a smaller profitability, in fact.
Yeah.
And makes poker a harder game, there's no question about that.
No.
Judging when your pair of sixes is good is much harder than judging when your pair of kings is good, obviously.
Now, going back to that hand, because I think it's important, I think the mistake was made. I just don't think, just because you've connected with your, was it the 6 or the 7? The 6, wasn't it? Just because you connected with the 6, this is certainly not good enough to check raise with. Listen, just bet out on the flop. Your first position, now you're representing either you've got a pair or you've connected with the flop or whatever, but why not ask the question yourself? Now, the 2 big cards might say, OK, well done, and just get out of it.
See, but on that flop, I hate to
go on.
have a difference of opinion this early on. On that flop,
but if you're going to pass to the guy's bet...
No, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Of course I agree with you.
Yes.
Yeah. I just quite like the check raise as an option on that flop, because if your opponent has 2 big cards and no heart, he's probably going to pass. If he's a good player, if he's a good solid player and he has an overpair without a heart, he may pass. He may do. So I think there's a variety of hands that you can actually get him to put down there, which may well make it profitable.
It might make it profitable. I have a bit of a worry about this. Well, one, for loosey-goosey, certainly shouldn't play that way if, as I said, they're going to pass the bet anyway. The problem is you just don't know what the bet means. When you've checked, you are showing weakness. So now it might be a bet with nothing. It might be a bet, because even if they've got a hand, they might be betting anyway. It's just basically you don't quite know where you are.
Look at this straight flush, James, on about the 4th hand of the night.
That is unbelievable. Royal
flush.
Ace, King, Queen, Jack, 10. And loosey-goosey, that 9 of diamond looks quite tasty with that.
Guys, I wish you could see the studio right now. We've got streamers, banners, sirens, there's dancing girls in here, but obviously we're going to stay with the game to see this royal flush.
And of course that 9 of diamonds is the second best flush.
Well, we've got $2 in the middle at the moment. Reynolds going to be desperately hoping they win a little bit more.
And it'll get paid some more, I think, because Lucy says, well, unless you've got the jack, I'm winning.
Yeah, she's got the second nuts. Well, I've seen Lucy play, and I think this is going to get raised. She's just trying to figure out how much to raise. No, she just calls. She makes a liar out of me and saves herself some money. Well played.
And makes a great pass in the end.
Well, she called, to be fair.
Oh, did she call in the end? Oh, beg you.
Yeah, she called.
Oh, beg your pardon. Sorry, she called.
But okay, it was only, you know, it's only $5. She's got the second nuts.
Okay. No, I was going to say, I thought she passed that. I was going to say, it'd be amazing for her to pass that one.
There we go, guys. A royal flush, top of the shop. Probably won't be seeing another one of those tonight, to be...
Well, not for a while, anyway.
Not for a while.
Anyway, back to that 6-7. I also think when you've got sort of a hand like 6-7, even though you've hit on the flop, it's too easy for it to be overtaken as well. Even if the guy calls with nothing, it's too easy for it to be overtaken as well. Because she's out of position there, I am less likely to want to play it trickily. I'm more likely to want to say, OK, ram, bet.
Yeah.
And really hope just to take it down there and then. Because I'm out of position.
Yeah.
And because It's going to be difficult to play from there
I understand that. I would only consider the check raise as an option because of the suited board, which does sometimes spook players,
True.
particularly lower level players.
True.
But you're absolutely right. Of course, the 6-7 hitting one of the pairs is extremely vulnerable. It's
Yeah.
you know, it's not a strong hand really.
Okay.
Action-packed start to the night.
Definitely.
We've had a discussion about how to play a marginal hand. We've had a royal flush. We're only 8 minutes in.
It's great. Well, John Boy there, sitting pretty. Pair of ladies.
And there's the raise. Will anybody else want to play with him?
And that's a chunky raise, 7 times the big blind. I'm being called by 10 king. Wow. That looks a pretty suspect call to me.
Well, absolute monster for John Boy Revel. Top set. How will he choose to play it? Will he try to get tricky, or will he just bet out? Bets out, but not a big bet. About a third of the pot, and he sees he doesn't have a hand. Strong enough to check that heads up, or?
Yes, I don't mind. I know there's a flush draw out there, but that is the way you're going to trap someone. I think I'd have checked, especially to the player, because Loosey Goosey often likes to play.
I think
obviously with that call.
I think that's one of those situations where if your opponent happens to have 2 clubs and happens to make a flush,
unlucky.
It's just one of those things you're going to lose some money,
Yeah.
but you've got to take a chance to get maximum value out of the hand, haven't you?
I think so. So you could check there, let them bet, and then if you want, come over the top now and give them the wrong price for the flush. That would be fine.
Yeah.
Well, look at this chirpy game. We've had a raise from the cutoff with 7-5 by Big Tom, but I don't mind that. That's
No,
fine.
I quite like that play. Get rid of the blinds.
Yeah.
Either take down the limper there or isolate with
You might think
position.
it's strange that, but I like that play. It's captured some dead money from the blinds, has got position, which is always wonderful.
Yeah.
But as we can see, is in trouble because the pair of 6s is in ahead of the pair of 5s. Lucy here has to be slightly worried if that raise came with an ace, but has got second pair and has checked it. Now it'll be interesting to see what Lucy does if Big Tom bets.
Well, you'd have thought Big Tom must bet, wouldn't you?
Well, I'd have been suckered into betting here, that's for sure. He bets 3.
Loosey Goosey can't know he hasn't got an ace. I mean, yeah.
And oh dear, we've now seen Lucy play and pass the winning hand twice in a row. Well, not quite twice, quite in a row, but 2 hands for Lucy. Passed when the 6, for the 6-7, and now passed with the 6s against 5s. And that shows the power of position, basically.
Yeah.
We're not castigating Lucy for her passes. We're just, in that case, it just shows the power of position. So when you're out of position, it's so difficult, this game.
Position, isn't it? And it's also having the lead in the hand because you've raised pre-flop.
That's right, and that's a big point there, because being that initial raiser, took the lead, had the initiative, and used it. Well, look at this, it's a lively game here. To raise from John Boy under the gun with ace-2, called with ace-7 offsuit by Lucy, called by Ronald with 10-queen. Wow. 9-10 in there as well. This is a very loose game tonight.
Yeah, it's a fun game. Good action.
It is big action, this. John Boy. Wow, look at this. Makes it $4. I'll tell you what, this is quite an amazing bet here. Nick, against 3 people, John Boy Rebel has made a bet. Takes some doing to bluff 3 other people out.
Well, he tries it a lot. He does likes a bluff, John Boy.
Well, he got away with it. Very adventurous. Right, the flop's 8 ace king. No one is connected. Will John Boy the better gain? Nope, he checks. Reynald there with a very adventurous 9 deuces. Look at this, he's bet $3. And takes it down. Another adventurous play pays off. Played with 9-2 on the button. Saw the signs of weakness from his opponent and then bet.
Good play. You're watching Poker Night Live. I'm Nick Wealthall, and I'm here with Poker Pro James Browning, and we're watching a real online game from the internet, and we're taking your texts and emails.
Look at this, Nick. Sorry, look at this. We've got another wild play from John Boy. Small blind, raises it up with 5-7.
That's not wild, you're just taking the big blind. That's automatic.
It's non-stop representation. But Lucy calls. That's the problem, of course.
John will fire through. Oh, he doesn't. He checks.
The problem is now trying this move against someone who's been witnessed to be calling a lot of bets.
Got that enterprising play. Check raises, and now he's ahead. All kinds of craziness.
Hit the 5, bets 12. What's Lucy Goosey going to do?
He's going to pass. Well, good play by John Boy. If you'd like to comment on that play or anything else you see on the show, do get in touch, guys. We're here to help you to improve your game and to share your poker anecdotes and wisdom with the world. Text poker 84222 and email the experts poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Whether it's a basic question or a technical question or a funny question, whatever you like, guys, get those texts and emails coming in.
Back to the game.
And we've got a flop that everybody's missed.
Again, there have been all missing flops.
Sometimes it's hard to hit a flop.
Well, more so, of course, when the flop is paired. And, of course, a paired flop is more likely to be a flop that you can steal on as well.
Yes, do you know a steal I particularly like on a paired flop?
Reveal.
I like to check raise with nothing, because that looks like...
You've got the trips.
Yes.
Good idea. I like that play.
Actually works. If you're playing against sort of intermediate players, it works particularly well on the turn. If you flat call a bet on the turn and then check on the flop and then check raise.
Here we've got a real hand. House of 2s over 5.
Yeah, it took its time in getting there, but there it is.
The last bit there was Nick. You'd like to do it?
Against intermediate players, it's good to flat call a bet on the flop, because intermediate players will very rarely bet out if they've got trips, so you can be fairly confident that they haven't got the trips if somebody's bet on the flop. And then your check raise on the turn screams out to them that you have. So that's a little play you can make, which has a pretty good success rate. Of course, when it goes, it's a high risk play, because if it goes wrong, then it's costs a lot of chips to make.
Yes.
But want to add to your armoury?
Yeah.
Dispense when the time is right.
And of course, you can do that play as well when actually you've got the paired card on the board as well.
Right. That's a bit of cover.
Which is actually quite nice as well, because you've a lot of the time when you've just got that card, people are a little bit tentative, wondering where on earth they are, or if they're losing to a bigger kicker, etc. It's quite possible now, by that play, you might even get someone with a slightly dodgy kicker, which is just better than yours. You might get rid of them. So, but you have got a way out as well. There is a little escape route as well. Say if there was a pair of 2s and the other card was a 10, even if the person has the 2, well, of course, you've got 2 outs to escape.
Yeah.
So could be used with a little bit of substance as well. So
I usually have nothing. Plays like that, though, guys, are all about knowing your players, aren't they, James?
Definitely. I mean,
you want players that are acting in predictable fashion if you're going to make that kind of play.
Yeah, and also you just can't do these plays against calling stations, you know.
No, absolutely not.
And that sounds obvious, but you see this mistake be made all the time.
By good players.
By good players against people who are calling stations. You say, well, what's going on?
Well, we've got another paired flop. We've got 2 players have hit the unpaired card, 2 players with the 9s. Lucy Goosey has absolutely none of it and is betting. Right Tonfield is raised with the 9s and loving it. Makes a good pass for 25, 50-cent cash game. Had the 9, James, and
Yeah.
folded to a bet and a raise, which, of course, you know, you probably should, because he didn't have much of a kicker, and it's unlikely he's best, but still a good pass.
And what's Lucy going to do? Decides to escape. Oh, look at that. And the 10 has come for pool 8 ball.
Well, everybody's got a straight draw of one kind or another.
Oh,
And pool 8 ball's got a house.
wow. From nothing.
Well, he shouldn't get paid here. He doesn't. That's right, Tom Fuller must know that his 9 is no good anymore.
And actually, if you do look at that flop, it is possible if you put down a whole list of hands, of course 10-8 is going to be one you could actually put down because it does give an up and down straight. So it is a hand you could list if you were really trying to think of all possibilities.
Yeah.
So when that 10 comes, of course it can be a dangerous card. I mean, certainly it could have given someone the full house jacks over 10s. They might have already had jack 10 in the hand. Again, a likely hand which people play. As I said, obscurely, if you look through the list, 10-8 would have to be on your list as well, somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
But, okay, that looks a little bit obscure, but generally the follow-up to that is when you are playing, it's a very good idea to, in many situations, put your opponents on quite a list of possible hands and then see how it matches the betting.
Well, I think this is where some of you out there have a little misunderstanding in that we get quite a few emails saying, I put him on ace-king or I put him on a pair of jacks. Top-level players don't usually do that. There aren't many circumstances where you can early in the hand say, yes, he definitely has this hand. What we try and do is we try and get, as James says perfectly, a range of hands which it's conceivable that they could hold. And then you'd also have a certain percentage which was complete bluffs,
yes,
I think, wouldn't you? So that could be anything. And they could be making a move on you. But then after you've excluded, or factored in rather, making a move, you then have the range of hands. So, you know, in that hand, he could have the jack, he could have, you know, an overpair, he could have the straight draw. And then you'd assign probabilities to those holdings.
Of course. And your point there is about, you know, there will be a certain amount of bluffs. But of course, that is a changeable factor according to the opponent. Okay, so if we're looking at John Boy there, his bluff ratio is far higher than other players.
Yeah.
So therefore, when you're in a pot against him and you bring this percentage of bluffs into the equation, this means that against John Boy, you actually have to call more bets against him. Because when he's on one of those bluffs, of course, you're winning with a lot more hands than normal. And this comes into the whole analysis of your decision.
We don't know what it is, but it definitely looks like that. Because
John Boy's looks like that.
Well, we've both been doing that. So
we have,
definitely,
yes.
you can, whatever it is, the hands go in that.
You should have seen it. I knew this guy who bluffed like that. He was amazing.
Beautiful wife, apparently. Let's get back to the game. Got several emails already, guys. Thanks so much for those, and do keep them coming in. Poker at pokernightlive.co.uk. We're here all night, literally, for a Monday. Is it Monday? It is, isn't it?
It is Monday.
I get very confused.
No, good. You got it right first time. You got it wrong in rehearsals, but
yeah, well, I didn't get the script till the last minute today. So, jacks for BWFC. Re-raises, pool ball elects to call with the Queen 10. And a jack will give him a straight, but there aren't many of those left in the deck. That's a slightly tentative bet from BWFC. He likes to see a bigger bet in that situation. He's basically encouraging a call if pool ball has got some sort of draw. And BWC tries an enterprising check raise, and he does trap a bit of money from pool ball. Takes it down. Decent sized pot for the game.
Wow, Button. What a lovely place to find American Airlines. Oh! How can this be the only time everyone passes? Look at Queen 5 decides to have a look. Makes it $3.
Lucy Goosey's
You know
gonna
what?
like this, yeah.
I might have been tempted on the button there against the two people on the blinds, John Boy and Lucy Goosey. I might have been tempted to limp to see if one of those would raise it up for me.
Yeah,
To add a bit of deception.
It's correct thinking, I think. I think if it's limped to him in the small blind, John Boy Rebel probably raises
Yeah.
a decent percentage of the time.
And maybe then gets him locked into the hand.
Yeah.
Plus, it would be quite deceptive because they wouldn't think that you had the aces because they wouldn't believe that you would limp in that position.
Right.
So I think that might have been an interesting way to play it.
Yeah.
The moral of that time is to be very much looking which players are alive in the pot against you. And according to which players they are, you have to vary your plays.
Do you know, I think that this is it's a very good point, and I think it's one of the things that people add quite late to their game when they learn poker. People focus on, you know, how much is in the pot, what's my holding, what's my stack, all these kind of questions. And, I mean, maybe it's just my experience, and maybe it's off, but I think that people take a while to actually consider not how many people are in the pot, but who are they?
Yes.
Because it's critical in everything or it should be critical in everything you do.
Definitely. I think people know that they should do it. Certain people know that they should do it, but I think it's very easy for them to forget.
Yeah.
And I think in the heat of battle, they overlook this, and I think they do forget it.
Yeah.
But we mustn't. Yeah, it's all the time. We should be checking everything, checking how many chips have the player's got, because how many chips he's got makes that player a different sort of player. If Nick Wealthall's there, he's only got a small stack, or if he's there with a giant stack.
Unlikely.
Unlikely, of course. But occasionally you might have got unlucky and only have a small stack. But if you're there with the big stack, as normal,
thank you.
Then, but you do play differently.
Yeah, of course.
And so therefore, when we make the play against you, we've got to bear in mind which is it.
Yeah.
Is it Nick Wealthall, the all-chipped betting monster, or is it hanging on by his fingertips, Nick Wealthall, with the small stack? So he will react differently to the plays. So all the time we must make this analysis, all the time, keeping track all the time. We should also really be aware of how much play have we got, how many chips have we got. If you have now gone down to a certain level, forget about the tricky plays, forget about the speculative plays, because you haven't got enough chips. You've got to have enough chips where if you connect with one of the straight hands that you get rewarded. Otherwise, it's not correct to be playing them. Better then to conserve these chips for a big punch against someone rather than trying to buy a raffle ticket with them for a lucky hand.
Well, loving it seems to think this ace-10 has... he either thinks it's got some merit or he thinks Reynolds going to throw his hand away for $3.
Oh, you said loving it. I thought you meant the comments. Oh, and I'm...
Oh,
it's
totally.
A play. No, it's a play. I didn't realise.
Totally
I got elated for a second.
Yeah, no. What it is, James, is loving it, the player, and what you're saying.
Oh, that's okay.
Loving all of it.
Oh, that's
Just
good.
want to be here.
Good. I feel better now. Cowboys, King Kong. Oh, look at this. Makes it $2. He's got some good hands, hasn't he? He's had the aces before. John Boy calls with ace-queen. Flop, Jack 3-5.
Well, this is a monster for John Boy in his hand ranking schema.
Oh, he calls that immediately.
Yeah.
Wow. 450 from BWFC. BWFC. Bolton Wanderers Football Club.
You'd have thought so, wouldn't you?
That's my guess. Let us know. Are we right, BWFC? Is it Bolton Wanderers Football Club?
Well, John Boy and Lucy Goosey have played a lot of hands together tonight. They're going to play another one here.
Lucy Goosey's got a real hand, and what a hand Lucy Goosey's got. Top pair and the nut flush draw. This is a monster. John Boy Rebel's got the middle pair. That's pretty good.
I don't like Lucy Goosey's check there at all. I think it's a poor check. Because John Boy Rebel has shown that he will call bets.
Right.
You'll give him the maximum opportunity to play against you.
I think it was just had the big enough hand to be deceptive was Lucy's thinking.
Yeah, I just think, as we're talking about in terms of who you're playing against, I don't think you should be slow playing against John Boy Rebel, really.
Well, is this... No, he doesn't pay it off.
I suppose, having said that, can I just take that back, what I said?
Yeah.
Thanks. I'll take it back. Because there's two ways to think. One is that
he might have nothing.
pay off, and the other thing is you might get him to bluff.
Yes, that's it. And that's why I think it was I quite liked it.
Okay.
And you know why? Because I think
I've made a call there, James, on the spur of the moment.
Okay.
I'm regretting it now.
Okay, I quite liked it because I thought the hand was big enough to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Because she had the nut flush draw, she's got the top pair. This is a monster hand, heads up, and she's got position.
Yeah.
And it really added quite a bit of deception into the hand. She did get called one more bet after that anyway. I thought it was... I didn't mind it at all. Because also the player you're playing against, he mightn't have a hand. Well, how are you going to get money off him then if you bet? You can't.
Yeah.
You're opening the door for him to say, oh, you're weak, are you? Bang, next time he might bet.
James Browning, putting me where I belong in my place. I'm Nick Wealthall, this is Poker Night Live, and as ever, guys, encouraging you to text and email the show. About 10 minutes' time, we're going to be doing our first batch of emails, and it's your chance to get your questions and queries read out and answered on TV. Anything you're struggling with in this game, whatever your level of play, we'd love to hear from you. And, of course, your poker stories and anecdotes, either connected with the show or what you get up to in your own spare time. Those stories of woe and success. It can be easy to get in touch. You can text us on 84222. There it is on your telly right now. Text poker and your question, 84222. Question/comment. Or if you prefer, find an internet-enabled device and email the show, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Tens versus the ace-jack. John Boy Rebel with the strong re-raise with the ace-jack. I don't think Ringtone Fool is going to be going anywhere with the tens against this player.
John Boy not too bad a shape, but he's bad shape now because he's missed the flop. How things change. No diamond in sight on there either. He's got a backdoor straight draw and 2 overcards, however, which is about the equivalent to 7 outs. Big Tom says, that check from John Boy, my goodness, I think I'm winning. Bet it, and John Boy put it down. Tell you what, I've enjoyed this cash game so far.
It's been a rocking game.
It has.
Plenty of action. I think if John Boy left, the game might change substantially.
Yes.
Substantively. I don't know which I mean. I'm not very good at English.
You are good at English, though.
Well, I'm not. But it is interesting how one player, either by arriving or leaving a table, can completely change a table. I think if you took John Boy out of this game, it would calm down considerably.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And also, it's whether certain players at a table are winning or losing. And that can change the makeup of the table dramatically as well. BWFC 4-7 spade says no. John Boy on the button with 5-10. We're waiting expectantly. The tension mounts. Is he going to raise? Looks more like a pass. Is he feeling sick?
He's making a cup of tea.
He's passed.
He's making a cup
John
of tea.
Boy, are you okay? We're worried. Nine, 10, Jack, Queen, up and down straight for pool 8. Lucy Goosey's got the second pair of jacks. Third pair for Big Tom, pair of 6s. puts his bets. And things have improved.
Straight versus 2 pair.
Kojak, King Jack, 2 pairs. $3 into a $5.50 pot.
And will Poolball raise, or will he wait until the river? He's going to wait till the river. I think Poolball will get paid off on all his money here, I'd have thought.
And $7.50. And how big's the raise going to be? Well, I think he's got to go all in. He's only got 17.10 anyway.
Yeah, and Lucy's not putting down 2 pair, is she?
So I think he's played this well, Pool 8 Ball. Oh, 50. Ah, do you know what? I did.
Left behind $2 for a rainy day.
Yeah.
There you go, straight versus 2 pair. Unfortunate for Lucy.
To me,
not easy to get away from that.
To me, I thought that actually not putting the $2 as the opponent would have made me more wary of the bet.
It is a bit of a tell, isn't it, when it's pretty reliable that usually means a massive hand when people do that. You see them do it in tournaments. The one you see in tournaments quite a lot is towards the later stages when people have got a stack size that would normally be an all-in move. Like, say they've got 5 big blinds or something, and they raise 3 big blinds, or they raise 2.5 big blinds. Usually means it's a monster. Yeah,
it can do, yes. I mean, I sometimes will do that myself still, because I think certain people fall for it.
Right. Oh, yeah, no, I'm not saying it doesn't work.
Yes,
I'm just saying,
so I will try it, even though it is a bit. I do think it's obvious, but I will sometimes do that sort of obvious trick, because certain people, I think, will fall for it and think, oh,
he's weak.
Yeah.
All judgment, isn't it, in this vexed game?
It is, and it's that all these little decisions all the time keep on cropping up, and this is what makes it a fascinating game. 10-5-4, we've got top pair for Big Tom. We've got a backdoor straight, a backdoor flush for Pool. $3 from the real hand. He's bet virtually the size of the pot, and Pool rather sensibly declines the offer. Well, I can see action coming from John Boy here with Queen 9. What do you reckon?
Got to be big enough, hasn't it?
Is it a raise from him?
What percentage of his hands do you think he's playing? I think
it is a raise, a baby raise.
It's got to be up near the 80% mark, isn't it?
Feels like it.
Feels like it, yeah.
Lucy Goosey's got a peg, just calls. And Loving It says bye. Ace King 4. John Boy checks. 2 overcards. Oh, he's found the queen. Bet 3. Wins that one. Bet the lot. Would like to. Get called for the lot.
Yeah. Chunk of junk out against him, unfortunately.
Don't go overboard, bet the lot. Try and catch a player here. Yeah, well, 150 I'd have gone. I
don't think he's getting any customers, whatever, is
no. No, no customers, unfortunately. Do you feel more frustrated when you've got... You're getting worried, actually, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm petrified, to be fair.
Nick Wealthall.
Yes.
Do you get more frustrated...
Yes.
...when you have aces...
Yes.
...and don't get called in a cash game,
or
when you've got aces and you don't get called in a tournament?
I don't know, really. I think late in a tournament, or middle to late in a tournament, I'm always happy to... I'm never... It's nice to give yourself a chance for double 3, but it also gives you a chance to go broke, doesn't it? So I'm never that unhappy if I just pick up the blinds. Because the blinds are usually so significant, I guess. It's probably slightly more, as we see Prince Pete hit his second pair. It's probably more frustrating in a cash game because you're probably playing a little bit tighter in a cash game anyway, and you finally get a good hand sometimes and don't get any value for it.
Well, for sure you want to be. I mean, I never want to win the blinds in a cash game with aces ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 100% never want to win the blinds with aces.
Yeah.
That's just a disaster. I mean,
Yeah.
I definitely want someone to play here. And you haven't just got one life. It doesn't. If they catch you, they catch you. Good luck. But I want to end up in a nice juicy pot there.
Yeah.
So it is very frustrating not to get action there. Yeah, in the tournament, there can be times there where, again, really in the tournament, I think in the tournament I'm only going to have so many major hands, and I find both frustrating, because basically it's a hand I want to have some play with.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true.
I think in the latter stages of a big tournament would be really frustrating, because that's probably make or break for a lot more money, isn't it? That could be the one which gets you the big prize.
Yeah. One for Lucy Goosey, small one, both players with jacks and tens. She has the kicker. Well, stay with us, guys, because we're here till 2 o'clock, and in a few minutes we'll do some emails. And we're going to have Beat the Presenter tonight, and we're going to have the multi-table tournament, which tonight is the Poker Night Live League. So anyone that's checked in with our forum on the website can participate. So you could be playing next week. Happens on a Monday night, and we'll bring you some of that and the final table as well. Big Tom's got the ace-king. When you find anyone to play with? Of course, John Boy's there, and look what's happened.
And John Boy likes this flop.
The cheeky
That's
monkey.
actually how the betting goes here. This will be interesting to see how John Boy plays this. Big Tom, and he just called it. And he's now made the house. Look at that.
Well, we want a 10 on the river for fireworks, don't we?
And he's checked. Will Big Tom bet again? He might do, actually. Yes, he does. I was not surprised. John Boy probably should just call, I think.
Well, it's interesting. If he calls, what does he then do on the river?
He has just called.
And now what does he do?
We'll check again.
Not going to get much action on the river, though, are you?
Oh, he's bet now. I think that's the wrong thing. I think if you do just call, you check again, because you're leaving the door open for the guy who's got nothing or very little.
Mm.
And I think that's wrong play. It's hard to do it. People say, "Oh gosh, I've got to get paid. I've got such a good hand." I think if you're going to just do the call. He's made his hand now anyway. He really knows he's winning this.
Yeah. But would you not try and get paid on the turn with that sort of hand?
What's my opponent going to have here? I don't believe my opponent's got the 3.
No, but they may pay you off if they've got some sort of draw.
Unfortunately, the only hand which my opponent might have is they might have the pair of jacks or something if they've got a really good hand. I mean, that would be horrible. I don't want that one.
Well, you're going to lose money.
If they're going to like it, yeah. But I don't know. I just don't think there's not too much for them to have out there. Yeah, maybe they fit the queen. You could. I'm not against it fully, but okay, I'm not against it fully, and I think you can put in the raise again on the turn, which a lot of people do, most people do. But if you don't, if you just call it, which is maximum deception, then in that case, just check again on the river.
Right.
And leave the door open for the guy with the lesser hand or no hand to try and steal it. The question you should ask yourself is, do you think that there's a percentage chance that the person will try and bluff it?
Yeah.
Okay, so hazard a guess, what percentage chance is there?
Depends on the player, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
but in this case, maybe...
Maybe 15-20%
yeah.
chance.
So, okay, so there's 15% of the time you're going to get some money from it anyway. Now, if you're lucky enough that someone has actually got a hand on the river, you've given them an extra chance to get their hand to improve. That's the other thing by calling.
Yeah.
Now, they might bet, you raise, they might get more money. You might get really well paid. So, there
It's
are some
interesting,
plus
isn't it?
points
Because we don't talk very much, actually, on the show about maximising profits. We talk a lot more about minimising losses, I would
Yes.
say.
I think that's a good point. Yeah, we do.
But I think that maximising profits when you have a good hand is obviously a key difference between profitable players and unprofitable players, actually.
Yes.
So maybe it's something we'll talk a little bit more about tonight. Guys, send in any emails if you like. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk is the address. If you've had a big hand, had a good hand, you don't feel you've maximised your winnings on it, James will dissect your play with scalpel-like efficiency. And you'll feel as bad as I do afterwards. No, it'll be good because we don't really talk about getting paid, do we? And it's an absolutely key skill. Sadly, we can talk about some different situations. A lot of it does come down to judgment, I think, because you're trying to judge your opponent, aren't you?
I'll tell you why on that one. It's just a matter of keeping as I say, a bluff has got to have the right storyline. So if you're going to pull off a bluff, it's got to fit in with the storyline. In this case, if you're going to slow play, which John Boy did then, I think it was correct play all along. So he just called, he kept deceptive, he just called. Well, why break away from the storyline? Just call, oh, this last card held me so much, I'm betting. What storyline that? It doesn't fit the plot at all.
It's a rubbish story.
Rubbish storyline.
It's like an Emmerdale one.
Yeah, it's like, no more like Home and Away, I thought.
Hollyoaks, that's the worst. We're just going to do an email,
So
James.
therefore, let me just finish. So therefore, sorry, I just put the little cap to it. So therefore, that's why I think in that situation, the check again would have fitted the storyline.
Well, we didn't know anything new in the last bit, did we? Email from Dirty Papa. How do you get paid when you have a great but visible hand? So interestingly, we're talking about getting paid on hands, such as a flop flush, flop straight, or a pair on the flop that gives you trips. Good question. Not one we've had before, I don't think. I find if I check to induce the bluff, it rarely works. It looks really bait. And if I raise big, they fold to my wonderful hand, which I find very upsetting. The only way I seem to get money is by betting very small, effectively giving them odds to outdraw me. What do you advise, dudes? And that's right, we are definitely dudes. James, we just talked a little bit about it. Let's talk some more about it. How do you get paid when you have a big hand like a flop flush or a flop straight? What are the factors to consider whether you play this fast or whether you play more trappy?
It depends, obviously, on the level of your hand. So when you say a flop flush, if you've actually flopped a small flush because you've played with 6, 7 of diamonds, obviously this is not a massive hand. And therefore, with this one, I would advocate betting with it because people won't believe necessarily you've flopped a flush. And also, you're going to capture value from the people with the ace of, say, if it's a diamonds, for example, with the ace of diamonds in the hand and maybe the king of diamonds in the hand. So you're going to get them paying to draw to their hand. And also, you've got to charge them because you can't just let them hit their flush. So it depends on the level of your hand. If you've flopped the nut flush, well then, it's hard to get customers. But in this case, you might get a customer from the king of diamonds. So basically, you can put a bet in there to try and capture him to draw to hit his hand. So you make it sort of reasonably attractive for him to call for it. A lot of this, of course, like in all other parts of Hold'em, depends on your position. When you flop this big hand in your early position, it is difficult because of, you just don't know what everyone else is going to do, if they've got anything at all.
Good, great advice as ever from James. Hope that helps you a little bit. I've got an email from Phil, who's in Dover. They have poker in Dover, brilliant. Hi Nick, my wife thinks you look a little like Dickie Davis from World of Sport from the 70s.
Oh, yeah,
with that blonde streak at the front. What do other viewers think? Phil, I respect the fact that you're trying to suck up to me and everything. It's not blonde, is it? It's officially grey. It's my distinguished look. What I would like actually on the Dickie, I was back here. Do you remember he had typists who just did this all day? They weren't actually doing anything, were they? I'm just background. Don't know what that was all about.
No, it's good though. I like this though. I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, it's got bigger over the last year.
It's got bigger over the last week.
I've had a very stressful week. Haven't seen you, James. Guys, stay tuned. Lots more emails. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Keep them coming. We're going to go to the phone lines for our first phone segment of the night. For the phone in tonight, we're very lucky to have with us one of the top poker pros in the UK. It is Roy the Boy Brinley. Good evening, Roy.
Good evening, Nick.
How are you doing, mate?
Not bad, mate, not bad. Of course, I do live in Ireland, and I do play out of Ireland, so UK would be a bit rich, but...
UK, when you're over here.
Hi, Roy. It's James here.
Hello, James. How are you doing,
Last time I
sir?
saw you, we were on the cruise in the Caribbean.
That was a lot of fun, wasn't it? Especially that first night. Can you remember when we hit the back end of that tropical storm?
I've never seen anything like this before.
I had never, ever seen a dealer be sick over a player in my life.
Yes, it is good advice. Don't seat in seat number 10.
What's the ruling if it goes on your cards? Is that...
Yeah, what is the ruling if it goes in your cards, Roy?
There was that many people throwing up that, I mean, the poor tournament director didn't have a chance, did he? And of course, that super satellite the night we left was on the very top deck, wasn't it? So that they were swaying around more than anybody.
Yeah. Actually, well, I wore an overcoat because I was sat next to Devilfish and I wasn't too sure what was going to happen.
Yeah, you could have done with earplugs as well, I dare say.
Oh, dear.
Oops, I forgot about that. Is Roy the Boy v Devilfish? Now, that would be fight night.
What did I say? Did you miss the parting shot on the cruise?
Oh, what was that?
It was my little quip on the end. I said he'd come down for a bit of peace and quiet. He found a peace. Now he's got to hope she stays quiet.
Whoa, boom, boom.
I bet he loved that, didn't he?
We're getting on a lot better, actually, to be fair.
Oh, that's good. That's good. What did you do? Give him some chips or something?
I just told him he was the best poker player in the world.
There you go. That's the other way. Bless him. Now, would you recommend a poker cruise, Roy?
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's the second one that Ladbrokes had done. The first one was around the Mediterranean. This one was obviously a lot bigger. Yeah, it's good for the community of the site. You know, people are meeting each other the first time. And I remember someone got married on the back of the first cruise, and about 9 or 10 of the guests were people they met on the cruise. And you know, it's a good promotion for a website. Let's be honest. And when you meet people that won their way there on a free roll or a $2 super satellite or something that couldn't normally, afford to go in the Caribbean for 10 days, it's nice.
I'll tell you what, Roy, the fun, I really enjoyed the cruise as well, I have to admit, but I promise you, I have never met so many people who just came up and said, "Hi, James," and of course I didn't know who it was, but of course they'd seen me on Poker Night Live, and there was such a percentage of people on that cruise that watched Poker Night Live. That was quite fun as well. It had quite a big following, so that was... He's laughing there.
That's good.
No, it is. It just shows that the
I've never condemned your viewing figures, mate. You haven't got to convince me.
Well, Roy will watch tonight, so that's +1, isn't it?
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah,
That's what it's all about, isn't it? And my mum's recording it as well. Let's not forget.
Excellent. So where have you been playing recently, Roy?
This year I've not played much at all. Doing a lot of corporate work. Ladbrokes are keeping me very, very busy, and I'm trying to develop my own website, roytheboy.net. Must mention that, obviously. We had a lot of Poker Million satellites, qualifiers here in Ireland. We wrapped up the last one last night down in Cork. 18-year-old lad won that, who qualified via a $10 tournament. So that will be interesting. Certainly, I think, be the youngest person to ever play in the Poker Million.
Yeah.
Off to Estonia on Friday for another Ladbrokes Jolly. What have we got after that? Barcelona clashes with the Showdown Poker Tour. I'm not wholesomely convinced about the Showdown Poker Tour yet, but I'm getting a bit demoralised with the world heads up, with the lack of added money. So, I'm picking and choosing personally, but doing a lot of work sort of around poker, but not actually playing much these days.
Are you enjoying doing the work around poker, or are you missing playing quite so much?
It's exciting times, isn't it? I mean, I don't think people that were playing 5 years ago could have possibly dreamt the way it was going to explode, and it has, So to be there at the start of that sort of explosion was good. You've got to keep one eye on the future. We're all chasing a life-changing result. We're all trying to win the $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, but, you've got to be practical. I was talking to Mickey Wernick the other week, and really hard to believe this. European #1 last year, he's leading the rankings now. He said to me, only once in his entire poker playing career has he won more than £20,000. And that's really hard to believe. And I know, 20 grand's a lot of money, but in this game, you're going to plough a lot of money back into entry fees along the way.
Absolutely. Roy, I'm going to have to cut you off there. We'll pick that up in a sec. Roy's going to stay with us, and in about an hour's time, we'll have a little bit more chat with him. For now, don't go too far, because we're going to be back with lots more poker, lots more talk, lots more cash, and lots more chat with Roy. Cheers. Welcome back, boys and girls. This is Poker Night Live. I'm Nick Wealthall. I'm here with James Browning. And we're watching some great poker, aren't we, so
We've
far?
had some Good stuff.
Very exciting stuff. And lots more to come. In a few minutes, James will be playing in a tournament. You can play Beat the Presenter with him and beat the presenter, literally.
I want to try and find one with the names on, but they're not there. The better structure one I wanted.
Right.
I'm looking.
Greedy. We don't have time for it, James. Get in, get out. Get in, get their money, get out.
All right.
Or get in, bust out. One of the two. You can play against James. He hasn't logged in yet. Still a chance to play against him. And if not, you can watch him online as well if you like. We'll still be covering some live poker for you in the next hour. And then at 12 o'clock, we'll analyse James's play. Well, he'll analyse it, and so will I. Quick email for you, James, before you start.
Yes.
I mean, you work for a living. This is from Karen. Good evening, Karen. I remember you from previous shows. Not so long ago, you gave me some good advice on how to analyse my play as I was consistently going out of multi-table tournaments just before the dreaded bubble.
I remember.
James remembers. You advised me to make notes over a period of time, which I've done, and I've come to believe that I'm playing too tight early on and then panic-chasing rag hands when my chip stack becomes low. Self-prescribed solution, loosen up and stand up to bullies more often early on in the tourney. Problem is, I've been trying to loosen up but find it terrifying. Every time someone re-raises, I lose my cool, back off, and at the same time create a poor table image to boot. And her question is, does my state of terror represent a natural evolution in my play? And if so, any tips on how to get through the pain barrier? Or am I destined to be a bad player? Don't say that, Karen. You're not destined to be a bad player. Destined for greatness. I can tell just by the way you spell Karen. Your advice will be welcome as always. Now, I can tell you're destined to be a good player because you're questioning your play. And if you keep doing that, you will become a good poker player. That's the beautiful thing about poker. It's very, very rewarding, or I've always found it to be. The more effort you put into analysing your play and becoming better, the better you become. It's not like golf, for example, which is a heinous slattern of a game, where you can put as much effort in as you like and you're still rubbish. And that's why I've given it up. Gave it up by throwing my clubs in a lake. So, to the point.
Yes. I think the thing is, actually it's a good sign in a way that you feel frightened or you feel terror, because the reason why you feel terror is because you're ending up in situations where you don't know where you are. And that's frightening. But that's good. That's good. Because basically, in poker, the key is to be in situations where we know where we are. So, okay, you feel that you've been too tight early stages, but don't go into the extreme the other way. I think it's to be a matter of finding the happy balance. So therefore, I think you've probably taken one step too far. You've just become a little bit too wild and just don't know where you are. And this will be terrifying. But I think you're in the wrong area now, because this is no good. I don't want you playing blind. I'd rather you were playing tighter and then just know where you were in certain hands. You'd play those hands well and probably play them correctly. So take the foot off the accelerator a little bit. Try another little level. Try making another type of bet. But don't try and go from being a very solid player to being sort of like a loose as a goose straight away. It isn't going to work. So just bit by bit, just test it. Test the water bit by bit. And then you'll feel more comfortable with the type of bets you're doing, with the type of bets you're facing and raises you're facing, etc., etc.
It's quite seductive, James. I know that you have always had a passion for a lady, and just test the water bit by bit. Join me, James Browning. This is from Andy. Just a quick question for you. We're going to slip this one in before James goes off to play online. How should you change the way you play the small pairs to a raise in a really tight passive cash game when you usually don't get the correct implied odds to call and try and hit your set? Just trying to see if I understand that. Did you understand that, James?
Sorry, I was just quickly trying to find a seat. Right, sorry.
You abandoned me, haven't you? You abandoned me to your online poker.
Nick.
He loves it. Yes. James Browning's now playing online, by the way.
I've abandoned you. Okay,
yeah, good luck. Have fun. You enjoy yourself. I'll just hold the show together. Don't worry, everyone. Nick's Poker Corner's coming up, and that will whip it into a frenzy.
I love Nick's Poker Corner.
You do, don't you? And you're not alone. My mum does too. Oh, help. So lost. Not in life, just on the show. When we play small pairs to a raise in a really tight passive game, cash game, Well, if it's a tight cash game, small pairs may not be the best option because, as you said, you're not getting the correct implied odds to call and try and hit your set. Just to go back a step, when we play a small pair in Hold'em, most of the time, not all the time, but because that's never true in poker, but most of the time, we're trying to hit that set, and in order to make that worthwhile, we need implied odds. Why is this? Well, we're 7.5 to 1 to hit our set, and you're very rarely going to get that before the flop because you need 8 callers to, or 7 callers rather, to get those odds. Occasionally you'll be in a game where that happens and that's groovy, but most of the time you'll need to know that when you hit your set, you're going to get paid after it. So if you're playing in a tight game, you may not be getting paid after the flop, so small pairs may diminish in value a little bit. As to playing small pairs to a raise, well, the only time that that's a valid play in my book is when you're playing against a very tight, what we call ABC1 player, who's a very predictable player, and say he raises from early position and you've got a small pair on the button. It may be possible that, obviously if you hit your set you're going to make some money, but it may also be possible to get him heads up and then win a pot off him by moving him off the pot if he misses with his ace-king, or if he has a pair of tens and a king comes down or an ace comes down, something like that. So if it's somebody that you can push around because they play in a tight and predictable fashion, then you may be able to get away with calling a raise with a small pair, but I wouldn't encourage you to make this play until you have excellent judgment and a good read on your opponent, and you should only be making it with a very small percentage of your chips, so the money's got to be deep. So yeah, I think that answers the question, Andy. Hope it does. Let me know if not. Guys, please keep the text and emails coming. We're having a fantastic response for a Monday night, but we've got lots of time left. Obviously we don't have James anymore, but I'll still try and help. No, we have got Nick's Poker Corner this hour, which is going to kick off in a few minutes, and we need lots of emails for that. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk is the email. Oh, I'm ahead of myself. There's the text. Text poker and your question and a little love note to 84222, or email us poker@pokernightlive.co.uk with your questions, your funny stories, and your recent adventures in Pokerland. As is perfectly obvious, James is playing poker on the internet. Hopefully he's playing a game we can analyse and he hasn't just gone and played in his cash game or something. You can watch along online as well as watching us if you like. At 12 o'clock we'll watch the game back and analyse it, and hopefully that'll be a lot of benefit to you guys. As I said, emails coming in thick and fast. Nick's Poker Corner is coming up. For now, let's go to our multi-table tournament. This is the Poker Night Live League tournament. Let's take a butcher's. Butcher's hook, meaning look. Just one of the many Cockney phrases that I don't really understand. Okay, we've got 28 runners left with the blinds at 150-300. They're spread across 4 tables, so 7 men a table. And we'll just take in a bit of this. John Boy Rebel's got plenty of chips. Ram chip looks like our big stack with 18,500, which is a goodly number with the blinds at 150 and 300. Now, we've had a rebuy period in this tournament. That finished about half an hour ago. And just so you know what we're doing, this is a private tournament in the sense that you need to be all registered in order to play, but anybody can play on Monday nights, and all the information is on our website, on our forum, on the pokernightlive.co.uk website. So do get involved, guys. This is set up for you, and it's a lot of fun. Just to give you a very quick update on the league, we've had 3 tournaments, and Llamafish is leading at the moment. M. Tosha is second, Jugglebug is third, Demi fourth, Froggy Boy fifth. So Llamafish is the man they're all trying to beat, but we're only 3 tournaments in, so early days in the league table.
Nick, I don't want to interrupt you, but I have got a message for you, and it is a little bit relevant, and it is, please say hi to Nick from the Double Top.
Oh, does he like me now? After all the crossness.
He's your friend now.
I've always loved you, Double Top. That goes for each and every one of our viewers, to be honest. I'm quite slutty with my love for the Poker Night Live audience. They know that. So 150, 300 blinds, and I reckon You want at least 10 big blinds. You probably want a little bit more than that, to be fair, to be comfortable in the tournament. As I reasonably repetitively say, it's not just where the blinds are now, but it's where they're going, unless you're on a very long clock, and even then you'd be thinking about it. One of these online tournaments where the blinds go up roughly every 12 minutes, you want to be aware of what the next blind level is. Is it a big jump, a small jump? Where does your stack need to be? We've got 41 entrants into the Poker Night Live League tournament tonight, and first place is going to take home $225 for only a $5 buy-in. So not the biggest stakes in the world, but a lot of fun and a lot of pride at stake, and a chance for you to get even more involved with the show. Can't be bad, can it?
Did you read out L. Twig's email?
Look, can I just say, it's not a request show.
Last one.
And they're abusing the chat box to get to me through you. It's not going to work unless there's gifts or financial inducement involved. And no, we haven't read out L. Twig's email yet. He'll have to stay tuned until 2 o'clock to see if we do.
No, he was only because he missed the start. He apologised and he wanted to know if he read out.
James, I'm only teasing. I'm not really cross.
Oh, you see, now there's no request. You've upset them because Fastban, it was going to request you to do a strip.
Already done it. Did it in the break.
Not a pretty sight.
You say that.
I will say that.
Well,
yeah.
you say that. Kings for Robbie, and he's going to survive 4,500 chips. And for those of you that follow such things, the big stack at the moment in the tournament is 25,000 chips, in excess of 25,000 chips. My advice would be, if you're in a multi-table tournament, the first thing you need to worry about is your stack in relation to the blinds, because that basically dictates your survival and your effectiveness at that blind level. There's been a lot of thinking done about this, and various different ways of calculating how healthy you are. The traditional way used to be to measure how many big blinds you have, and if you had 10 or more, you were considered reasonably comfortable, less you weren't. Harrington on Hold'em, the Bible on tournament play, suggests that you add up the cost of a round. So if there's an ante, you'd include that, and you'd add up the big and small blinds. So here it'd be 450, and you're actually looking for 10 times that. So he would encourage you to have a bigger stack before you feel comfortable. I'm not quite sure if we could definitively say there's a right or wrong answer to that. I think experience will tell you what works for you and when you feel you need to be pressing the panic button. But when you do get shorter than an ideal stack, certainly if you get under 10 times the big blind, you need to start thinking about making big moves, start making bluffs, looking for opportunities and not waiting for a hand. This is the great mistake that many beginning and intermediate players make when they play a multi-table tournament. To a certain extent, you're going to have to make things happen, but doing that takes quite a bit of judgment. And Robbie's trying to make something happen as he battles away with his short stack. And gets kings as his reward. Nice place to have him on the button because it will look like he's trying to steal the pot. Depending on what happens in front of him, of course. You still in, James?
Yeah, somehow. The chat box is so distracting.
Well, just, you know, get in the zone.
Yeah, I'm going to get in the zone now. They wanted to know if I won the tournament, if the money would go towards the Nick Hair Gel Fund.
I don't think you can win enough, can you? Queen 6 on the button, round chip eschews the steal the blind option. And Panaman Creole is going to raise with his pocket pair. Almost certainly the best hand against one random holding. know many of you are poised on the edge of your seats and beds and sofa beds, waiting for Nick's Poker Corner. It is coming up. It is coming up. Probably not poised on the edge of your bean bags. That's extremely difficult because they shift underneath you, so never can quite sit on the edge of one of those. But wherever you are, I know that the anticipation is building to near frenzy. Moments away, guys. Keep the emails coming in, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. As I said, we've had a great response. Always room for more. We pick on quality, not the order they come in. Also on the amount of compliments, of course. Basic emailing into a TV show strategy, though, that, isn't it? Both players miss, and Panaman Creel with the position and the aggression will take it down. Let's have a look at another table. In this multi-table tournament, we've got 4 left, 7 players on each. We'll drop in elsewhere. And we find our big stack, 25,000 chips more or less for Creamed Cage, which is one of those names that sounds like it's probably rude, but I hate to think how. Damtil Argo wins the battle of the short stacks there. That really is an enormous number of chips. Has 80 times the big blind, I believe, which is in a reasonably short tournament like this, that's a big, big stack. Let's see how he's playing it. Is he going to call with any 2? He's not. And fortune favours the brave for Arga. Used to have an Arga in our home once. Makes terrific bread, but very expensive because they run oil. Although now I believe you can get Argas that run on other types of fuel. Probably best I stop talking about Argas now. It's not great TV, is it? Cam King with the Ace-King suited. Oh, he passed it. How did that happen? I was curious. Wonder if he'll pass aces. He has. What's going on? Well, Cam King must be away from his computer, clearly. And we all know what he doesn't, which is that he passed ace, king and aces when he was away. So if somebody could tell him that in the chat box, that would be hilarious. I think I was a bully when I was younger, to be honest. Gimboyd A7, a fine hand on the button. He doesn't want to play. Nobody wants to play. Very strange. He's giving up a bit of utility there by passing A7 on the button. There's a very strong possibility that it's the best hand. And also a decent likelihood he'll pick up the blinds there and then. But he is short stacked, so I guess he didn't want to risk his chips. I'd argue that that's the time when you should be trying to take some free money. When you're short stacked, you can't really let opportunities like that go to waste, I don't think. But people have different styles. Well, he's not going to like this, Gimboyd. Down to Argus' nemesis. Won a pot off him when we came to the table, and he's got him crushed here. He'll need that 7. Doesn't happen, and Gimboyd goes down, I'm afraid. Not too much he could do about that. Unlucky to find kings in the big blind. We've slipped to another table, or we've had some kind of feed. We've gone down to 3 tables, is what I'm being told has happened. Sorry for that random jump there, guys. I know you're probably ahead of me anyway. And if we see another spade here between Snap It and L Pig, we'll have L Fireworks, but we don't. Skitsy with the Ace Queen. Ace Queen again for Skitsy, and how will he choose to play out of the big blind? By calling or going over the top? He comes over the top. Skitsy's all in with the queens. Does Jugglebug want to call? His whole tournament's on the line for ace 10. This should be, and he's decided to call. And I think that's something that he's got to look at. I mean, Skitsy's saying that he's got a good hand there. And he doesn't listen. Well, I hope your week and month and year haven't been too stressful. If they have, think of this as your big, bubbly Radox bath. It's Nick's Poker Corner. Welcome along. We've got some of your emails. Ace Jules emails in and says, "Hi Nick and Nick's Poker Corner. Do you do hats, t-shirts or lunch boxes with Nick's Poker Corner on them?" Well, no we don't, but there is a range of merchandise coming in the ensuing weeks, so do keep your eyes open for them and take full advantage of looking cool in front of your mates. He also says, just wants to ask you about playing big pairs in early position, as every time I raise there's never any action, so I've tried just limping and then I finally get outdrawn on the flop against two pair, etc. What's your opinion on doing this? Well, as ever, it does depend. Usually with big pairs you're looking to thin the field. And the reason you're looking to do that is that they play a little bit better, a little bit easier against fewer opponents. So that's the basic principle as to why we'd normally raise. However, there are circumstances where some players like to limp with them. Now, usually when you limp with a big pair, and we're basically talking about aces or kings, I'm limping with anything less than that. I know some players do limp with queens on occasion, but I don't think they're strong enough to do that with. I'm not sure. I very rarely limp with kings as well, although some players do that, especially in the early stages of a tournament, because they don't just want to win the blinds, and that's fair enough. You have to be prepared, if you're going to limp with a big pair, you have to be prepared to fold it after the flop if things go wrong. Because you've let other players in, you've let them draw at improving their hands, and so if then they start showing you resistance, if they start raising your bets or betting into you or whatever, you have to start giving them credit for a hand, because you've allowed them in cheaply, so they could have pretty much any two cards. That's the problem. When you raise, you give yourself a chance to take their hand down there and then, which could be valuable if you're in a tournament. James talked earlier about how it can be frustrating in a cash game to just win the blinds with a big pair. But in my opinion, you also define the hand a little bit. Players will usually only call you with certain hands when you make a raise. It also allows you to take the lead in the hand, so you can bet out on the flop, whatever. I just think that your default position should be to raise with a big pair, and you should only limp if you've got a specific game plan. The usual reason that people would limp is that they try and trap an aggressive player in later position who would try and raise to steal the pot, and then when it comes back to them, they can re-raise, having trapped his money. I think it's harder to use it as deceptive play for what happens after the flop, because it's difficult to know where you are sometimes. But Ace Jules, there's no right or wrong answer. It's not always raise or always limp. In my opinion, it's mostly raise, sometimes limp, and then you just need to develop your judgment when you limp as to when you're beat and when you're not. I wish there was an easier answer than that. Now, special treat for fans of Nick's Poker Corner, which I know is everyone. I actually, sorry, this is true. I went home to my mum's, good evening Sue, this weekend because she's selling a house and I have to move all my stuff. I'm 33. I can no longer keep my cuddly toys from when I was 9 in one of her wardrobes, it turns out. Going through my stuff, I found this book. It's actually my poker diary from when I started keeping poker notes and goes all the way back to 1999 when I was rubbish at poker. So some things don't change, no. Goes back to 1999 and it's a very interesting read because it's at a time when I'd been playing for about a year and I'd basically read all the books. I was in the middle of reading all the books, absolutely in love with learning the game and had bought about 20 books and was ploughing through them, trying to operate them. And what it brought home to me is what I try and emphasise to you is it's TJ's tip actually from his book. It's the best thing in his book. And it is to, when you finish a session of poker, remember your key hands. Doesn't matter who you are or what game you've played in, there will be 2 or 3 or on an exceptional night, 4 or 5 hands which either define your tournament or define your cash game session. And you will be able to remember them after you've played. Because they'll be fresh in your mind and you'll know, they dictated your night, so you'll be able to remember them. Make a note of them, make a note of what happened, and either there and then or later on come back to it and analyse what you did. And in this book, that's exactly what I've done. And I didn't do it when I started playing poker because I didn't know to do it. But when I started doing it, interestingly, my results improved very, very quickly. I got some particularly good advice to myself, the product of a schizoid mind. It says, hold on, you'll like this. It says about calling, here we go. Do not bet on the end into a made drawing hand ever again, and then a number of possible 4-letter words. That's me telling me that. Makes a change from you guys. And if you're honest with yourself, I truly believe it's one of the fastest ways you can improve your game because you're stepping out of what you're actually doing and you're looking at it with that third-person view, or that's what you should be trying to do. Probably best to do the analysis, actually, on a different day, even if it's just the next day from when you actually played, because you're probably a bit either elated or deflated, depending on how it went. But on the day you play, make a note of the hands and then go away and come back. And I've come back to this book 7 years later, and it's sharpened up a couple of things that, I've probably not been doing quite as well as I did back then. I'm a better player than I was back then, miles better player than I was back then. But there's so much to poker that you forget some things sometimes and you forget emphasis sometimes. So keep records, guys. Can't encourage you to do that well enough. That's the advice section of Nick's Poker Corner. Let's get back to the game, shall we? Keep the emails coming in. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. We can go to a cash game now. That multi-table tournament's going to keep running. You won't miss the final table. James is still playing online. We'll just check in. You still alive?
Still alive.
That's not as many chips as you started with, is it? Wow. But it is a no-limit tournament. He can turn it around if anyone can. James can. Are you on tilt?
No.
Yeah,
I was.
He's in the zone. It's different. He's in the zone. I shouldn't provoke him. Here's our 50-cent $1 cash game. Sorry, I won't talk to you anymore, James.
It's all right, no.
No, it's my poker diary from years ago.
I missed it. I was in the zone.
It also says, I fancy Judy Finnet, or whatever it is. I don't know. Doesn't really. Raw. I can't say that name on air, can I? Oh, it's a brand name. That's why I can't say it. That drug takes a pot. So this is a 50-cent $1 cash game, and the players can put down up to $100 when they start. So anyone over that $100 is in profit for that buy-in. Doesn't mean it's their first buy-in, of course. But it looks like a good night for Raw. I'm going to call him Rawhide because I think that's more family-orientated. Well, Philbo's playing the Queen 5. He's only got $10 in front of him. Where's it going, Philbo? Not sure you've got the best game plan, my friend. And Ninja sits with the aces on the button and 3 limpers, and that's a pretty nice place to be. Just a question of how much he wants to raise. Well, if you're going to raise, that's probably not enough. The thing is, he guarantees everybody will call, which does make the hand harder to play after the flop. If somebody bets into him, or check raises him even on this board, it's going to be a little bit difficult to know where he is. Now we can see obviously that he's a million miles in front. He's not going to get a customer, I don't think, but he will win the pot. Profit's profit. Well, Rawhide's made the bluff, and Ninja's called. Let's see if Rawhide can bluff again. If he can, it's going to get increasingly difficult for Ninja to keep calling. Well, no. And now, if I was Ninja, I'd be thinking my hand probably is best, and he probably was missing out. But I wouldn't like that 7, because one of the possibilities is that Rawhide had the 7. And if Rawhide can find a bet here, it's going to be very difficult for Ninja. Well, he can't, and Ninja can just check it down. He'll be relieved to take the pot. Interesting hand, that one. We were talking about paired boards earlier. And if I was Ninja with the aces, I would have worried about that 7. I would have been relieved when Rawhide checked, I think. Tough decision if he bet. We'll have a quick look at how the players are playing in this game. These are the pre-flop folds, which gives us an idea of their style. And a massive variation, look at that. Huge difference. I'm not a minger playing only 18% of his hands, all the way down to Rawhide and Philbo, who are playing more than half the hands they're dealt. That's an extraordinary number of hands to play. And clearly what's happening is Rawhide's been hitting cards and Philbo hasn't, given by their given their relative chip stacks. Well, we've got a loose game here from what we've seen so far. These players want to play whatever cards they're dealt. And obviously people play very different in a loose game to how you win a different kind of game. And Ninja's got the trips, the trip 9s. Danger here for Ild, who holds the unpaired card on board, the queens and the 9s. Well, let's see what happens to Ild here. It's the classic situation of having the 2 pairs and being against the trips, and really it's about minimising losses for him. See, the problem is he doesn't know where he is. He's decided to bet. Now, does Ninja just want to call again? He's got position on him. He's raised, and that. Oh, I was going to say that may tip Ild off because he's just made a small raise, but Ild wants to call. Well, I think if I was Ild, I'd be extremely worried. He's bet twice, he's been called once and raised once, and he's bet again. And Ninja just called at the end. I think by the end, because Ild kept betting and calling, he's probably a bit worried that he held the other 9. So just calling is probably fair enough. And Ninja boosts that chip stack even further. 3.5 times the maximum original buy-in. We've got 6 players, which is well short of... well, most Holland games are played around a 10-seater table, the websites we cover. on the show have 8-seater tables, as you can see. So we're a little bit short-handed to start with. Down to 6, and I wouldn't describe it as a short-handed game, but it's getting there. You can certainly loosen up your starting hands a little bit. You don't want to get carried away with 6 players, because there's still a decent chance of a good hand being out there. Rawhide's got it this time. And Bob Fox. We're playing limit poker, apparently. And that 6 might actually worry Rawhide a little bit. If he's thinking, what's Bob Fox been calling with? He still thinks he's best. And Bob finally gets rid of the king too. Mercy. Checking through the emails. Great responses ever, guys. Thank you so much. We'll get through as many as we can. Apologies if we don't do all of them. As I said before, though, we try and pick as much as we can on quality rather than when they came in. So keep them coming in. Still plenty of time and chance to get yours dealt with. Live on the show, we're here till 2 o'clock. Poker at pokernightlive.co.uk. Still got the final table of our multi-table tournament, which is the Poker Night Live League, coming up. And more chat with Roy the Boy Brimley, one of the better players in Britain. And we'll be analysing James's Beat the Presenter game, which he's playing in at the moment. For now, we're enjoying this 50-cent $1 cash game. We're the straight draw for Rawhide. And not much for anybody else. Oh, sorry, Bob Fox has got the queens and the 6s, of course. What am I looking at? And does he want to play for almost all his chips? He doesn't have a kicker. So plenty to think about here. And he's being asked to commit most of his stack. Tuffy. And he passes. Look at that, the aggression of Rawhide paying dividends. He takes it down. Well, got Bob Fox to fold the top pair there, betting his straight draw. Good play by Rawhide. Bob Fox won't want to watch that one back. I can't believe I've got this far on the show. I'd just like to congratulate Liverpool Football Club on their tremendous triumph, as predicted by me, live on the show on Friday. Not the most outlandish prediction I've ever made, to be fair.
A bit closer than you thought.
It was horrible. I was with my family, we're all Liverpool fans, you can tell from my broad Scouse accent. And we were all very, very, very tense. It was a roller coaster. Luckily, 26 years ago, 2 people with the surname Gerrard had sex without protection, and that resulted in Liverpool Football Club being substantially better. Commiserations to West Ham fans, valiant effort. The bottom line is, you're a yo-yo club. Sorry, guys. If there are any West Ham fans out there, I'm only teasing because we do have somebody in the gallery who's a West Ham fan. I'm just trying to get a rise out of him. Although he looks after sound, so if my mic goes dead in the next few minutes, you'll know why. Quite a spell for this cash game. It's quite a loose table. It's the sort of table where there's really not that much pre-flop raising, and you could afford to play your pairs, your suited connectors, those kind of hands. Occasionally, well, you shouldn't get carried away with this idea, occasionally you could play them out of position. If James hears me say that, he'll throw a fit. But I believe you can if you're sitting in a game where there's very rarely a pre-flop raise. Straight flush draw for Beardy. Great flop for him. He's got actually an amazing flop for him because he had the queen and the jack to hit as well as the clubs and a 10 for a straight. As it happens, he's now up against 2 pair and he'll need a club or a 10. They don't come. I'm not a mean could have got paid some money if he'd bet the turn there. I presume he was hoping to check raise. Bit unfortunate that Beardy didn't want to bet again. 10 jack raises, ace queen calls, threes call. Everybody's come to play now. Well, Rawhide may call because he'll know his 4 and 6 are alive. Nice flop for Ninja. Not so great for everybody else. How you doing, James?
Still alive.
Still alive?
It's.
I hope you're creating a lot of learning points for our viewers. I hope you're not just doing everything correctly, because that's, you know, what we're going to learn from that.
It's difficult to play correctly all the time.
Ninja takes it down. Quicker than a ninja. Or slice like a ninja, cut like a razor blade. So fast, other DJs say, damn. Can you name the song from which that lyric is taken? Big hit in the 80s. I still know all the words. If anyone can send me all the words, they win a prize. Ace King for Rawhide, top 2 pair. Beautiful flop for him. He could worry about diamonds, but he shouldn't worry too much. He's only got 2 opponents. King Queen for Ninja, best hand at the table, and that raise should take it. King Queen again, but this time run into Kings, Aces and Ace Queen. Look at this hand. This hand we've got here, James, I know you're playing, but
yes,
heavens to Betsy. Aces, Kings, Ace, Queen and King, Queen.
Goodness me.
Isn't it? That's quite a deal.
It's a hard one to find that one. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Bob Fox is all in with the Ace, Queen. He's not going to like what he sees. There was a raise, a call and a re-raise in front of him. Ninja's called, which is optimistic. And he's trapped now. I'm not he's raised all in. Rawhide may well raise again. He's raised again. Ninja now folds. And we've got 2 players all in. And the aces are going to stand up unless a king hits or an ace. We're given 2 pairs. Aces stand up and another decent pot and bust 2 players. Rawhide up to $336. Looks like it's his night tonight. Whoosh! Rawhide. That's how the song went. I know that's not his name, but his name's slightly unpleasant, isn't it? Do you want to go there? I'm here with James Browning, by the way. You wouldn't know it because he's playing poker. How you doing, James? Does it put you off if I do this?
No, it doesn't. No.
No.
But don't give away the storyline.
He's still alive. That's what counts. We're going to do some text and emails. Let's crack through them. We're still in Next Poker Corner. Here we are. Next Poker Corner. How annoying is this, by the way? Do email in. This is a text from Purple who says, I used to be scared at poker and was often bullied. Then I changed my personnel details to be male. No more bullying and I win much more. You don't actually say whether you're male or female and you were pretending, or see what I mean? It's an interesting one. It's clear from the emails that we get that female named players and male named players are treated differently. And there are some, well, several actually, male players on the internet, a few regular players on Poker Night Live who have female usernames. If one of those could email in and tell us what advantage they think they get, I'd be fascinated to know. When I've spoken to female poker pros in the past, they've said that they feel that people don't believe what they do. It's harder for them to bluff, and they do get bullied a bit more by male players. So, female players, what's your experience of that? poker@pokernightlive.co.uk, and anyone that does use another, the opposite, another, like there's 8 to choose from. Anyone that does use, I made myself laugh, just me. Anyone that does use the other gender from their real one, do email in. I'd love to know why you do it and how it helps. Got an email from Cam King, who we saw fold aces and ace king. He's just emailed in to say he was away from the table and set it to post and fold because he was busy playing cards in real life, just socially for fun, not for money. So you've given the attention to the social game, not the money game, Cam King. Interesting strategy. I only entered the tournament by mistake and yet still came 11th. That's just bragging. Well done, though. Good stuff. Unfortunately, because you're on TV, you found out you folded the aces and the ace king. If you're at home and you have to post and fold for a while, you don't usually know, do you? We got an email from Hoik, friend of the show. Hi, Hoik. Welcome to Nick's Poker Corner. Have you pre-ordered your lunchbox? They're available from July the 8th. It doesn't say Nick's lunchbox on it. I thought that was a bit... I've only just managed to write this email. When I saw the quality of expert presenters on Poker Night Live tonight, I passed out and only came around when the paramedics administered adrenaline. I lost the ability to speak. It really is more than anyone could have hoped for, and I bow down to your esteemed excellence, and that is how you get your email read out. Anyway, enough of all that. Hoyt knows that. Please tell me how to adapt your game to having a clear poker novice at your table. I appreciate such a situation is good news, particularly in a cash game, but what about a tournament? They don't respect your raises, they call with anything and re-raise with anything. Basically, new players are hard to read, and I know in the long run they'll lose chips faster than takeaway at chucking out time. But maybe a few gems on how you could cope with such situations. Many thanks. He's also put, P.S. You won't see me in the multi-table tournament tonight. I arrived 30 seconds too late to register. So my poker tip for the evening is this. Don't spend too long chatting to the pretty girl in the off licence. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Just ask her out. Pre-qualifying or out. Don't waste time chatting. You won't miss your tournament. How do you play with a very, very new player? Well, I don't know about gems. Unfortunately, it's reasonably straightforward. Obviously, you don't bluff them. Normally, you wouldn't try and steal their blind, although there tends to be a kind of tipping point with new players in that they'll be calling stations a lot out of the blinds. And then, quite often, not always, they'll reach a point in the tournament where the blinds get so big and they worry because they might get in the money. And then they're actually good people to steal from because they become too passive. Now, I can't give you guidelines on when that is. It's a feel thing, really, but it does happen in tournaments. So you don't want to steal from them early on because they're calling stations, but late on, if they get close to the money, sometimes these new players become good to steal from. So there's one little gem. And then, unfortunately, you're playing fortunately or unfortunately, you're playing showdown poker, as Puggy Pearson calls it, I think. Showdown poker in that you have to show them a hand to win. You're not going to bluff them. So basically, it becomes about the cards. And it becomes about value betting your cards. Now, people say they're harder to read. Maybe they are, but I think that most of the time beginning players bet their good hands and check their bad hands. Agreed, sometimes they don't know how strong their hands are and they get the strength wrong. And that's a little complication. But basically, they're not doing anything tricky. They're not going to check raise you and they're not going to bluff you. So I'll take playing against a bad player any day. I don't really understand people's reticence to do it, to be honest. But good luck. Particularly in a cash game, you put more about it. In a cash game, it's easier because you're just playing tight, you're playing good cards. In a tournament, I give you that little tip. Don't steal their blinds, obviously. But yeah, you are going to have to show them a hand. Guys, that was James's fist. There it is again, intruding on Nick's Poker Corner. Once again, that's Nick's Poker Corner wrapping up for tonight. Of course, there'll be more coming up soon, more Nick's Poker Corner, just a little bit more for you. And the DVD box set will be available in the autumn. But until then, as I said, pre-order the merchandise. James is going to be finishing up his tournament, we hope with success, but importantly, we hope with some good learning points, because we're going to analyse it after the phone call. We're going to get Roy the Boy Brindley back on the line for you and find out more from one of the UK/Ireland's top poker pros. Stick with us. Back with tonight's phone-in, and once again we're back with Roy the Boy Brindley, one of the UK/Ireland's top poker pros. You still there, Roy?
I am indeed.
Good to talk to you again. Now, last hour when we were chatting with you, we finished off, I had to cut you off because we came out of time. You're talking to us about Mickey Wernick and the perils of being a poker pro and how hard it is to make that big score.
Yeah, I mean, there is a guy, like I say, that's been European #1, and at the end of the year, if you took his entries, into account as opposed to his winnings. Bearing in mind, like I say, that he's only once won more than £20,000. You know, he's going to come out the end of the year barely in front. And this guy is, according to all rankings and facts and figures, the best in Europe, and that's quite frightening.
Actually, just to let you know, in fact, he was in Blackpool, and in the Blackpool Bonanza there, I think it was in the £300 pot limit. He won it, Roy.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been a very good player, Mickey, always. But, you know, traditionally he's been put into tournaments on deals and bits and pieces, and now he's just getting a few quid together, and I think he's got some sponsorship behind him. He's shown what he's capable of. You know, I wouldn't take Mickey on an internet tournament, you know, but in a land-based casino against the old guys with badges on, you know, he's a guy you'd happily put into a tournament every time. Similarly, Willie Tan, you know, he was European #1 a few years ago, and outstanding final table appearances, you know, compared to run ratios. But at the end of the day, it's all about the money.
Now, many of our viewers will entertain dreams of being a poker pro, Roy. And obviously, what you've just said about Mickey Wernick just indicates just how hard it is, particularly in tournaments, to make a living on the circuit. How hard is it? How many people are making a profit out there?
You know, it's a question I'm asked over and over again, and to be honest, it's, you know, on a percentage basis, you know, you have to think probably 1%. You know, clearly every year in Europe there's some big tournaments which you can win, and they will make a serious change to your life. But I mean, only once can I recall a player winning two of them in the same year. That was Dave Colcoff 2 or 3 years ago. And you could say, okay, the first tournament covered his exits for the year, and the second tournament must have been clear profit. But essentially, this is still a game where you can change your life forever, and 2 or 3 occasions in Europe every year someone will do that. Conversely, in America, you know, this is where the money is at, and, you know, you need just to make a prominent final table finish in a major comp, and, you know, you've won yourself £500,000. It's a different ballgame.
Yeah, that's amazingly significant, isn't it? Just when you say there, just struck me there. Just reach the final table and you can get £500,000. That's incredible, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you know, my friend Andy Black won 1.7 million in last year's World Series. And, you know, I'm not proud to say I had 3% share, and that represented more money than I'd ever won at that point in a tournament. And that's 3% of a guy that finished 5th.
That's extraordinary.
You know, I mean, it's different gear. And you can understand why, you know, a lot of people are now looking at America. Of course, the entry fees are much higher, and the field sizes are bigger, and they're more difficult to win. But, you know, like I say, someone like Mickey Wernick, he's done all he can now the last 2 years, and at the end of the day, you know, I would imagine he's barely in profit, and it just shows you how hard it is in Europe.
So do you think, Roy, that because the field sizes are bigger in these bigger American tournaments, that there's that much more dead money, so they actually represent a better investment than a lot of the European tournaments?
Well, the other thing to bear in mind with the American tournaments, they're invariably well structured. You get a lot of starting chips, you get a very kind clock. And there will be a lot of internet qualifiers. And the way the Americans are, there are all of the big names. I mean, I've sat at tables in the States with Negreanu and Ivies and the like, and the internet people are just like dumping money on them. I mean, it's woeful. I mean, I saw a guy once with pocket jacks on an ace-jack 2 flop, pass to a re-raise all-in from Ivy. Now, when you're holding the second nuts in Hold'em, and you've got to figure out the guy's not going to re-raise you all in if he's got top set. He's going to, you know, just call or re-raise a small amount. You know, it doesn't take a brain, but, you know, it was the great Phil Ivey, you know, and in this guy's book, it was a brilliant pass, an automatic pass. Now, conversely, in Europe, if you've been lucky enough to win some major tournaments, you're a target. Now, people can't wait to knock you out of the tournament and go and boast to their friends. You know, it doesn't even matter if they lose the pot. At least they can say they went all in against you.
Yeah.
But, you know, certainly Helmuth as well. I mean, the respect he gets over there from some of these people that went off the internet from Virginia and Oklahoma and places, you know, it's
extraordinary overlay. Roy, I've got to cut you off again, I'm afraid, mate. We're out of time once more, but we have got another segment in a little bit. Stick with us, guys, because we're going to be back with more poker action after the break. More tournaments, more cash. The multi-table tournament final table still to come, and another chat with Roy in about an hour. Welcome back to Poker Night Live with me, Nick Wealthall, and James Browning. This is the home of online poker on your telly. And this is the second half of our show, and you won't believe this, but this is the good half. James, you finished your tournament?
Yes.
Are we smiling, or are we
I think
in floods of tears?
Wait to see what happens.
Keep cats firmly in bags.
Yeah.
A few minutes' time, we're going to be looking at James's tournament and analysing it. He promises me there are a number of key learning points, so pen and paper at the ready. There will be a test. We want you to get in touch, guys. You've been doing that in your minis so far tonight, but we want more for the second half of the show. Keep us going till 2 o'clock this Monday morning. 84222 is the text number, text poker, and your question, query, comment, anecdote, whatever you like. Actually, anecdote on a text, that's going to get expensive, isn't it? So why not email it?
And tiring.
poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Absolutely.
Tiring, texting too long. Ooh, gets on your nerves eventually.
Doesn't it? As ever, anything you want to talk about, guys, you dictate the content of the show. Somebody that's done that is L. Twig.
Ah, the famous L. Twig, who I mentioned
Made famous
earlier
by talking to you in a chat box.
Yes.
That's all it takes in this modern world. You'll be in heat tomorrow. Hey, Nick and James. Just a quick question regarding adapting your play when playing different styles of player. For example, when playing a cash game earlier, I found it difficult to often know where I was in the hand playing loose players, as they tend to just simply call, and then sometimes out of nowhere raise on the river. However, when playing tighter players, you can find out where you're a lot easier, as these players will raise more rather than call. This has made me try and play a game where I emphasise position, and I tend to try and raise as little as possible. Interesting. And we'll try to either pump it or dump it. Pump it or dump it. Is this type of play advised? Any comments would be grateful. Pump it or dump it's not too bad. Obviously, that just means raise or fold, don't call too much. I'm sure James got a few things to say about raising as little as possible. And playing against different style players. I would say the ones that are difficult are the unpredictable ones. You don't mind if they're tight or if they're loose, because there are different ways to take advantage of either. It's unpredictable players that really get you worried. What do you think, James?
Yes, I think there's a general answer we'll have to this, is in all poker, as I've said before, and I'll say it again because I think it's a massive point, is it's generally best to be a contrarian. So basically, if they're all playing wild and loose as a goose, it mightn't be much fun, but the best way is to play very, very solid, play with a big hand. You're going to get paid from it. It's great. Okay, you're not going to be in so many pots, but you're going to get some big money on this one. You're going to catch them. So if you're in a game which is very, very passive, then you be the aggressor. You be raising far more. If they were going wild, you let them do the raising for you. You don't have to do it yourself. You can come in then with a really hefty re-raise or re-re-raise when you've got the monster. That's fine. You don't have to do the initial raise when they're loose as a goose. But in the passive game, then you take over. You be the raiser. You'll be winning probably quite a lot of smaller pots, and then be careful not to walk into the monster, because they're just waiting there to trap you. Well, there's no excuse. You don't have to pay them off. You can say, okay, well done, let them have that one, and then now win a handful, or a bucket full of smaller pots again. You're going to win playing that way in that game.
Cool, good stuff. As I said, guys, keep the emails coming. We'll have plenty more chance to do them between now and 2 o'clock, which is when we're off air. You may also like to enter our Lyric of the Night competition. So fast, other DJs say, damn, if I was a drug, I'd sell it by the gram. Can you name the 80s rap catastrophe? I don't know.
Is this a new feature?
I don't know. I don't know, James.
Actually, I want to say something. I know it's a bit of a shout, but I've got to make a bit of a shout.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, no, it's not because she's not very well, apparently. I'm going to wish Antina all the best and hope that she gets well very soon. So that's to Antina. I had to say it because it's a really nice name, and I'd never heard of the name Antina before.
And she's not very well.
And she's not very well.
I hope she gets better.
I do.
Allow us to be your lemon sip and hot water bottle in the early hours of this Monday morning, Antina. For everyone else, we're a cup of hot chocolate.
Bags the hot water
It's
bottle.
getting a bit warm for hot chocolate. We're a cool summer lemonade. Let's go to a poker game before this gets any worse. We're going to go to James's game. This is Beat the Presenter,
That sounds right,
guys.
actually. James's game, that's all right.
It sounds like a bad mini drama series from the BBC in the late 70s.
And this was a $50 sit and go.
Was it?
Yes.
Where did you get the money for that?
I actually came second in one and got some money.
Did you?
Yes. So I thought I'd invest in this one.
Good stuff. So we're playing for some serious
We're
doubloons.
playing for some good money here.
First prize of $200?
Yes.
Excellent. So I'm sure you're all aware what the format is by now, but just in case there are new viewers tuning in, we know we have them every night. Welcome. This is a one-table tournament. That's not a one-table tournament. That's a glitch.
Ah.
If you squint, you can see something that makes sense, James. Oh. there we
Okay.
are. I don't know if you had any... Okay, you didn't have any interference. Sorry, guys, you're being confused to why we stopped talking and what we were saying. We were getting all kinds of problems seeing the game in the studio, but apparently you're fine at home. So.
And that's the main thing.
And the fact is, by now they'll be used to us talking nonsense, so nobody
Yes.
would have noticed if I hadn't said anything.
It was going to be difficult to commentate because we couldn't see the table, however.
You can remember every hand now, can't you? What kind,
Not the
what kind
beginning,
of, what kind of
because
pro are you?
Not the beginning, because when I was allowed to chat, it was very distracting.
Very distracting. 8-player tournament, guys. 1 table tournament, obviously, and the last 3 people will make the money.
Look at this, he's got a big hand here. Making Jam got bullets. Makes it 180. And Isak quite correctly puts down his King Queen. Okay. I've got King Deuce on the big blind. Some good plays at this table. I thought the quality of the game was pretty high. Standard. Obviously, Johan Harren is a very successful sit-and-go player. So I was quite pleased to... first time I've played on the table with Johan, so that was quite exciting.
Yeah, Making Jam we've seen play a
Mr.
lot.
Perfect we've seen a lot.
Skinner we've seen.
Yep.
Isa HK has emailed the last couple of shows I've done.
Steve-
Emails tonight.
Steve Talbot as well.
Of course, as ever, we'd love to hear from the players in this game who played with James. poker@pokernightllive.co.uk. Rate James's play. Or rate your own play.
King Queen's raised from Skinner. King Queen suited. Being called by Isak and by Steve Talbot. Ping, there's an ace in the flop. Skinner against 2 opponents hasn't hit the flop. Was the pre-flop raiser, but oh, I don't like that. I don't like that.
Ready?
I don't think this was
Bit
a time for a
optimistic.
continuation bet. However, got the pair of 7s to put it down, but can't get the ace to put it down. Now, surely Skinner must... he's had a try. Should not pay off here, obviously, or try anything too cute. And still a few chips there. Blinds are only 10, 20.
So this is the $50 sit go with the longer structure. We've only had this on the show for a little while. What is
Right.
it?
Right, actually,
It's not longer structure.
well, it's first of all, it's more starting chips because it is
Yeah.
the $50
Yeah,
one.
so we've got 2,000 chips
Um,
each.
And do you know what? But it's not the longer structure.
Oh, right, normal structure.
It's a 10-handed structure,
Right. So more chips.
but with more chips, which actually still
which does
gives you a
make
bit more play.
which effectively gives you the same.
Now the
outcome.
other tables, with the longer structure, it's every 12 hands that it goes up, and again they give them more starting chips, but that can be at a cheaper level still.
Mm-hmm.
And the key to it is if it's a table with a colour, it's the fast structure, and if it's a table with a name such as Nicholson or Douglas, it's the longer structure. So this was like an in-betweenie, basically. And Making Jam, ace queen on the button. Sure that he'll do something with that. Yes, he does. He makes it 80.
And early in the sit and go, your style is very
my style is I'm hoping to find... I'm not going to get too adventurous. I don't want to be taking risks to win 30 from the middle. In fact, even making it 80, I think was an overbet. I think he should only make it 60. I just think he should basically control the size of the pot, early stages. There will be people there only waiting to play big hands, so you can still give yourself a chance to get out of trouble or get away if you're not sure where you are.
Sure.
So 3 hearts on the flop, but 240, 204. It's got the top pair. Skinner has got the second pair, as has Steve Talbot, who's got the second pair with a better kicker. And he's bet 60 into a pot of 80, and it's a flat raise from 240, who's definitely trying to tell him, listen, I've got an ace, or better. And ooh, the ironic thing here is that the 10-7, of course, would have hit 2 pairs here, but was chased out of it. And they've just checked this down, and the winner, of course, with the ace is 240. Well, 4-2 for me. No, not much good, is it? Johan there with a pair of 5, small blind. He raises up to 70. And it'll be interesting to watch what raises Johan does. And again, these early stages, he plays pretty solid. Even on the button there, he doesn't want to try anything with 9-jack. Later on, you'll see him trying things with all sorts of hands. But this early stage, he doesn't want to get involved with a funny hand particularly, because it's the risk-reward ratio is out of kilter. Got up and down straight for Steve Talbot. Well, Isak bets the pot. Oh my goodness, what a play here. Up and down straight. It's a semi-bluff. It's a re-raise. And actually quite cute what he's done, because he's done the flat re-raise, which often represents strength. But actually in this case we can see it's a semi-bluff, but it works well. And many a time when you don't overplay the bluffs, they're more powerful.
Well, you've got to put yourself in the head of your opponent, and you know, a bluff is a misrepresentation. You're trying to represent a strong hand.
Exactly.
So you want to think what looks like a strong hand.
That's right. So as we said earlier, it's got to fit the storyline.
Yeah.
And so that's why that flat re-raise sort of does fit the storyline. Then if he finds his opponent with any sort of weakness, they would like to say goodbye.
The problem with the flat raise bluff, of course, is that if your opponent's got a marginal hand and it's cheaper for him to call, it may just push him to call.
It might do.
So it's kind of, with all these things, there's so much judgment.
The guy
involved.
who can do the flat re-raise, though, basically needs to have position.
Yeah.
It doesn't work well when you're out of position, because if your opponent does call because he thinks he's got some value, now you have a problem because you're out of position the next round of betting. So when you've got position, that is the time it would be more acceptable to use the flat re-raise, I believe.
Mm. King Jack for the Browning.
Kojak. Actually,
Tempted to raise pre-flop there with the button limping, or are you always just going to, at this stage, see flops?
no, I was just going to be quite happy to see if I could connect. And I don't mind throwing it away. And Mr. Perfect here checks. He's got the top pair, and he's played a little bit tricky here, Mr. Perfect. He doesn't want to try anything, but we've got the flush draw for Steve Talbot. Now, this is interesting, I've got the 10 Jack Queen King up and down straight. Now, in another situation with more money, I might represent there, I might put in a semi-bluff, but I decided no, I'm checking it, and I hope that everybody checks it, and I get a free draw. It happens. I check. Mr. Perfect's actually made 2 pair. Steve had missed his flush.
Mr. Perfect's managed to not put a penny in with the best hand on every street.
And he checks.
Hasn't he?
He's hoping for someone to steal, obviously, there. Because he
Well,
realised...
he's been hoping for that for 3 streets.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're still hoping.
well, it's over, isn't it? At some point, you've got to try and win some chips, haven't you? I don't want to be too critical, but I'm going to be.
Right. 10-3, of course. Hitting the top pair and the flop with a 10-3 isn't a monster, is it?
No, obviously it's not. But against 2 opponents where one of them's checked, a lot of the time you've got the best hand.
All right, we've got... I just limped here with King 8. Making Jam has made a move. I don't mind putting hands down here.
No?
Maybe...
Nice play from Making Jam.
He decided to put a bit of pressure there. So good opportunist play. I'm aware that Making Jam is capable of making moves, and he does give me a dilemma later on.
Does he?
He does. Skinner with a real hand. The blinds are 20-40 now. He's done 3 times the big blind with his ace-king under the gun, and he's captured the 60. Johan again playing very solidly early on, not getting involved.
And the kings for e6. Don't think we've really seen you have a hand yet, have we?
No, I don't think I've had one yet. In fact, I didn't really have too many hands, I think, the whole session. I think the only time I had a real hand.
Just a quick question, which may, just while we're in the quiet period of the tournament. I played at Aspers in Newcastle, as you know, and had a fantastic time. I'd recommend it to absolutely anybody who... if you're a fan of poker, you can't fail in Newcastle, I don't think. Great place to play.
It's an amazing place. You could go there for a week and have poker fun.
You're a lucky man, James. You're not lucky, you choose where you live, don't you? Yeah. Good choice. And they run their freeze out there on Sunday afternoons in a double chance format.
Yes, very nice.
Now, for those of you that haven't encountered this before, you have... Effectively, you've got 2 binds available to you. You get the first bind, 3,500 chips. You can take the other 3,500 chips anytime you like. See Johan Harren make a move. That's a very strong move, isn't it? Picked his man in his moment. Now, what's your attitude to that, James? How do you play that? Because obviously you can get the chips straight away if you want, or you can wait and see how you go.
Right. Initially, I don't take it straight away.
No, I don't.
Because I think the original idea of double chance was that if you travelled a long way to a tournament and you actually ran into a head-on collision type poker situation, like aces against kings or whatever, trips against trips, that you had another life. So, you know, you could keep on playing.
Your whole day isn't down to one.
However, where I will adapt is if my table, after it's been playing for a while, if I see that some bad players have accumulated chips, then I will take my chips.
Interesting.
Because now, if I catch that person, I want to have both stacks doubled up by them.
Yeah. Yeah, I should have done that.
So what do you think of that?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I like that.
Actually, mentioning Aspers, people are asking me on the chat box there if I'm going to be at Aspers tomorrow. All being well, I'm going to be there. And I'd like to say a quick hi to some of the guys who are asking. I want to say hi to Clive and Adam from Newcastle, who are strong followers of Poker Night Live.
Good for them. Good choice. This is Poker Night Live. I'm Nick Wealthall. I'm sitting here with Mr. James Browning. And
who's got a 2-6?
He's got a 2-6. There he is in the 6th seat. We're watching him play his tournament that he played earlier in the show.
Thinking, when can I get a hand?
And as ever on Poker Night Live, you guys make the show. You've been making our show tonight with some great emails. But we want more. Get us through this Monday night with lots of interesting stuff, guys. Remember, you dictate what we talk about and discuss on the show. There's the text number, poker. And whatever you like, question, query, comment, anecdote, fact, 84222. Remember to enter the lyric competition. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk is the email for anything you like. Of course, it'd be good to hear from anybody who played in this game with James. But the email is open to all. We will get through several more text and emails before the night's out, I promise. Both players flop a 7 here.
Making Jam 6-7, Mr. Perfect 9-7, and I had 7-3. And there's a 7 on the flop. Well, well, well.
Well, there definitely aren't any more 7s then.
4 7s and 9
I've done
cards.
the maths.
Visible. 80 from Making Jam, and Mr. Perfect, my goodness, keyhole surgery there, decides he can come over the top with his.
Very good. Guess he's thinking there, if I check Making Jam, will probably bet with anything.
Johan Harren passed ace-10 there. Just to show you. Johan there, early stages, he's not frightened to pass.
Far too tight.
I don't think we can...
What a rock. What's he doing?
Well, early position there, he doesn't want to get involved. He doesn't want to start putting raises in to protect that hand, because it's not a great hand early stages. Ace-10's a very mediocre hand.
No, Johan Harren, we've seen play these sit and goes since Poker Night Live began, haven't we?
Yeah.
He plays a certain way. He plays very tight for the first few levels. He'll just play his good hands. He'll play in position. He might steal the odd blinds, but basically he'll play solid, and then he'll open up when a few players have gone and the blinds get big. And he does have that ability to change gears, no question.
And it's very much a style that I like, that he plays, and maybe as we go through this tournament we might see there's some similarities in style. Pair of 10s for Skinner. Ironically, Mr. Perfect needs a 10. Which of course would be wonderful if he hit one, because it would give Skinner trips and give him the straight. Oh, Mr. Browning's got ace-10. Nick Wealthall.
Hello, James Browning.
I want you in tune with this one.
Yes, I'm reading emails from the viewers. And you've decided to limp. Different to Johan Harren, different idea.
I'm limping, prepared to get away from it, I don't care.
I prefer your play, to be honest. You can't criticise anyone for throwing ace-10, but I think that in these sit and goes you only get so many hands, and I think you should, in the early stages, check out flops when you get dealt one.
Check, check. Now I've had amazing value. I've actually had a chance now to hit it again. Now actually I do believe that I'm probably could be winning. But it's still early days, so I don't want to risk my tournament. Now I'm pretty sure I'm winning now, because I don't think anyone's got the jack or the 7, but I'm going to check it. Why should I try anything else? Okay, I'd have got maybe won it all instead of splitting, but I split it anyway. So again, I just don't want to be, I don't need to be asking any big questions early on. I don't want to be risking my stack here, keyhole surgery on one hand here where there's not a lot of money in the middle. I don't want to bump up the size of that pot when I actually haven't really connected with it. So I want to keep that pot small, because the smaller you keep it there, the less tempting it is for someone to try and steal it. And well, I might actually win out of merit.
I mean, I've been aware of this concept for a long time before they started using its name, and I've seen it only recently start to appear in poker articles and things like that. And the phrase is controlling the size of the pot.
Yeah.
And it's something that top players, such as yourself, do automatically and do it very well. Maybe we could just talk about that. Basically, top players don't really like to play big pots, do they?
No.
We don't like to... I say we. No. You don't want to expose your chips.
If you think you're the better player, you want to make the match go over a longer distance.
Absolutely.
If you're Roger Federer, you want to play 5 sets rather than 3, unless you're against Nadal, probably.
Snooker's a good one, isn't it? Because in
up to 5 frames,
in snooker, the 5 frames are a lottery. Yeah,
exactly. But so therefore, the poker player really, if he believes he has an advantage
from Johan Harren. What a move that is.
This is a real massive semi-bluff here.
Massive semi-bluff. Well, he took a big risk there.
He did.
Because if Making Jam's got top pair, he's going to call.
Yep, that was quite risky.
It was an interesting move because, like I said, I didn't think Making Jam's the sort of player to put down anything. So he's relying on Making Jam bluff, having been making a move at the pot there, which he was. So you could say it was a great read from Johan Harren, or you could say it was a big risk. It worked.
The only thing is, and in fact I think you mentioned it to me once before, was against someone who's capable of bluffing, they're quite good to bluff against because they tend to want to put things down.
You can trick a trickster.
Yeah, trick a trickster. Also, Johan there probably said maybe against Making Jam there's more chance than I'm against nothing.
Yeah.
So that might have been his other parts of his thinking. Plus, he didn't like the situation. He'd gone down to 1,700 and he probably felt, I really need to try and win this if I can. Big hand from Isak, ace-king. Takes that, and I'm down to 1740 now, Nick. And look at this. Pair of tens. I found a hand.
But a hand fraught with danger.
It is, and...
Aren't they all, though?
I just do a flat raise.
Okay.
I haven't made a move so far, so I'm definitely saying I've got a raise.
Well,
I've got a hand.
Could see some action here. He's Making Jam's got the flush draw.
He has. I decide, well, I'm reluctantly have to bet this. I could have walked into a jack, and there is a flush draw out there. I bet 320, so I've really stressed. It looks like I'm unlikely to pass this by betting 320.
Well, it's never that bad a move, is it? Check raising with a flush draw all in.
He's got two overcards and a flush draw.
I like his play.
I like his bet. And I really deliberated. I really felt he was making a bit of a move, but I thought, well, you're going to have something here.
And the reality is, have you even got the best hand there?
It's touch and go, isn't it? Because he's out for the flush, and he's got, six overcards, 15 against
so you
my pair of
haven't
tens.
got the best hand.
So I decided, I didn't know where I was. He could have easily had a lot better hand if he just clicked the jack.
I was going to get the percentage on that, but you're behind there, in fact.
So
I mean, you're not, but you are, you know what I mean.
I put it down. I think it was quite a big hand to put down.
I think the reality is you've got 1,260 chips left with the blinds at 40 and 80, haven't you?
Yeah.
So...
Anyway, now let's see what happens here. Straight away, I've now come in with a raise, Nick, with 10 jack.
Yeah.
Against the blinds, and against Making Jam, who's one of them. And they pass.
Yeah.
So I've actually captured some chips back straight away, which is quite nice. But the strength of my play there is that they've just seen me put down a big hand to a re-raise, yet the very next moment I'm betting. So in a way that implies that I've got a hand of strength, I believe.
Aces for Making Jam this time. He's come over the top, and this is what we talked about earlier. He's come over the top, left half his stack, and he's obviously going to play the rest. And the nines muck. For those that are interested, 10 versus the king-queen on that flop, it's almost exactly 50-50.
That's what I thought.
50.5, the 10s are just in front. But nice play by Making Jam. And I think probably, nice play by Mr. Browning as
because
well.
Because some of the time he's going to have the jack, isn't he? Some of the time he's going to have the 7. He's not, he's going to have hands some of the time. Sometimes he's going to have an overpair.
I think you're trying to, this is how everyone's played in the early stages. And the tightest player on the table is Johan Harren. The thing is, I think if you call there...
Sorry, we have an interesting one here. I've decided to just flat call here again.
It's not that interesting, James.
Well, no, there is. It is. I remember it.
Now then, it's quite a good flop for a pair of 7s, isn't it?
There's 360 in the middle. I think so. Plus, I am down to 1,300 chips. I bet 320. So what do you think?
Oh yeah, I like. I'm overly aggressive anyway. I like the bet. The reality is, you've got a very good chance of taking the pot, because if somebody hasn't got a jack, it's very unlikely somebody's got a 5. If they have, you can't help it. You've got 2 players behind you. The player that's checked, if he had a jack, he'd probably have bet. So you've got 2 players behind you that may have hit a jack. If they haven't, the chance of there being a bigger pair out there is almost nil.
And there's one more point. The problem is, with that pair of 7s, you don't want to see another card.
No.
Because there's so many overcards to a 7, and you don't want to see any of them because you don't know if it's connected. Then you really are in the dark.
And we talk about, or I talk about anyway, I'm sure we all do, about tournaments being about taking opportunities to make chips. And maybe some of you aren't quite sure what we mean. Ease HK has just taken another one there, a limper and a big blind, made the big race with 8-4. And it's things like that James spotted. He spotted a good chance where he may have the best hand, he may not have the best hand, but it's a good chance to take down a pot. And with his stat running short, he knows he can't sit there and wait for the blinds to go up. He needs more chips.
This is one. 240's just limped in with Jack 10, Nick. I've got Ace 10 on the big blind.
You're going to raise, aren't you, I'd have thought?
I'm not, actually.
Oh, really?
I'm just checking. Again, it's still reasonably early days. I wanted to see what happens. I've hit the pair. And I decide to bet. I bet 240. I bet the pot. And he re-raises.
Any fear about not having the best hand at the moment?
Yes, there is. But I decide, they've seen me pass a re-raise before. If they think I'm always going to pass a re-raise, obviously that's not the case. I actually believe that I'm probably winning this. And if not, I'm sure that there's a way out of it, because I have got the top kicker with the top pair. So I re-raise and set myself all in.
And he pays you off.
And he pays
and
me
you
off.
doubled up. Fantastic. I think one of the other things there to consider is that if he did have a bigger hand than yours, so basically we're talking about 2 pair or better, he
or
would probably, or possibly an overpair, yeah, I suppose so. He would probably flat call you. He probably wouldn't want to scare you away.
In a way. It felt like he was trying to push me off it,
Yeah,
yes.
because he did make a big raise. Anyway, worked out well, and our man has chips.
But still 8 players left. So we're 81-60 and we still have a full complement of players.
Yeah.
Albeit 240's obviously wounded now after that encounter. Isak passes his king-queen. Steve Talbot. Chirpy, flat raise. He's in the cut-off though. I've got a pair of 5s there, I pass it. It's a small pair. It's a difficult hand to play. I don't want to get involved with it. I think it's very likely someone's at least got 2 overcards to me, which I won't know which one they've hit. I'm not in a desperate situation. I'd rather play a hand where I've got more idea where I am. So decide to pass a pair of 5s.
Kings and 240s all in with his ace-5. He's going to need that ace. Only an ace.
And we've lost a player.
We have. Down to 7.
Phew, said Browning, not first out.
Always a sweet moment in any second go, particularly one on the telly.
I think really only on the telly.
When you've got the word expert under your name.
Making jam on the button. One would expect something from him. No, he's just flat call. Interesting. And the Skinner there must be tempted now with his king 10 suited. He is, and he just makes up the small blind. And Johan there, notice no moves with his ace there on the big blind. And hit the top pair, he bets it, and he'll take that down. So he got good value making up the small blind that time. And I think king 10 suited, I would have made up the small blind as well. What about you?
Oh, yeah. I might have raised. Actually, in that position, with making jam on the button and Johan Harren in the big blind, I might have raised with any two cards because Johan Harren is a reasonably solid player at this stage of the tournament, and making jam is liable to limp in with any two cards. So I can't say for certain. It's not impossible. I would have tried to take a pot there.
81.60 though, we're getting near a little crossover time, aren't we? Because
Yeah.
each round's costing 240. It's just getting to certain people now will have to be doing something.
Yeah.
Johan there, let's see what he does with this one. Ah, and there we
Change
are.
of gears.
Just as I said, time to start doing
He's
something.
after Browning's blind.
Yep, and he's got it. Good change of gear there from Johan. He was in good position. And he knew in a way there that because I had similar stack of chips to him, I probably would not want to be getting tangled in an unnecessary battle there particularly. Unless I had the goods.
Anyone want to steal this? It's a walk for making jam. Freebie!
I actually deliberately didn't try anything there. Well, it was 10-2 anyway, but I thought I'd quite like to see, that was the end of my blind, I'd quite like to, just to see a little round of play here, just to see if anything happened. I'd like to see a few encounters here and hope to see someone knocked out, just to reduce the field if possible.
Uh-huh.
Well, basically, I still, because I'm in better chip shape than the others, I still had time in this format, still maybe to find a hand, or hopefully find a hand. But they were scarce.
As I'm sure you know, this is Poker Night Live. I'm Nick Wealthall, seat 6, and your co-host for the night is James Browning, 3,000 chips. And still plenty of time to get in touch. Just over an hour, and we're coming up to doing some more emails. Here's how you do it. If you played in this game with James, we'd love to hear from you. If you just started playing poker, we'd love to hear from you. Heck, we'd like to hear from you, whoever you are and whatever you're doing. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk, and I promise we'll discuss whatever you want us to discuss.
We just missed Steve Talbot there. He had a pair of queens, but no contention, but he won it. They all folded to him. And I think we'll see something from Johan here. He's got the ace-jack on the button, got a genuine hand on the button. And there we go, it's his 480, 3 times the big blind from Johan there. And I don't think either of these two...
Well, Isak's re-stoled from Johan. He doesn't this time.
No.
Early in the tournament, I think we were talking about someone else. It was, he made a re-steal. Got to be braver to re-steal at this stage of the tournament, because you're going to be committing most of your chips if you do it.
Yes, for a lot of people it'll be their life, their tournament life.
If you want to live, you can't be afraid to die, James.
And Skinner there's whacked in a raise there, made it 950. I've got ace deuce, but I'm not interested. Making jam, passes a pair there. And Skinner, what's he going to do? He passes his pair of threes there. Interesting, and I think correct, actually. Johan cranks it up. And he must know that he's going to be in contention with the big blind here. Because Mr. Perfect's only got 790 more. Ah, but he takes him off it. Wow. So therefore, he only had limited liability. So he was either going to get him to pass, which was wonderful, or he has to fight him, and it's not the end of the world because he's only got, as I said, limited liability because Mr. Perfect didn't have so many chips left. Well, some people are getting a bit lower now, Mr. Perfect especially. Making Jam takes that. Mr. Perfect doesn't want to fight there.
And what's your attitude at the moment, James? You've got 2,500 chips.
A bit sick that I haven't found a hand actually now. I'm starting to worry a bit because although I'm ahead of some of the other players, it's the lead is insignificant.
Yes. And so are you close to the point where you're going to try and steal without a hand?
I think I'm going to have to if I don't find a hand.
Because it's not long before the blinds will be 326.40.
The problem is I've got to watch out for the stack sizes of other people. I don't want to walk into something where I can't have no fold equity because people will just say, oh, I've got to put it in anyway. So I've really got to pick my moment or find a hand.
Hits the ace on the end, yeah, absolutely.
So but it's getting worrying now. And again, another no hand is just, I don't like it. And I don't want to be against... that didn't feel the right spot for me there.
Difficult, isn't it? Because you know the blinds are going to double in a couple of hands.
They are, but the thing is, as it technically, I am in second place.
Other players are going to have to take a risk before you, I guess.
Well, they should do. But I said it's not happening.
You thought about that for a split second.
Yep. But I decided, well, I'll just still try in this stage now, because I'm out of position now, to see if I can get a hand, but no joy. But I really am very aware that if I don't find a hand in this little spell, well, then I'm really going to have to do something, regardless of whether I'm in second place or not.
Yeah. Well, you're playing to win, not limp into third place, aren't you? So.
Yes, I'm not. Initially, though, my first target is top 3. And when I reach top 3, then my target is first. But to have top 3 as a target initially isn't too bad, I believe, because, of course, this is, in the long run of playing sit and goes, it doesn't hurt to get in the top 3.
No, well, obviously you're making money.
Yeah, and then once you get there, the difference between third and second is insignificant compared with the difference between third and first. And that's where you should definitely say, well, I'm not trying to manipulate to get in the second, I'm going to actually really try to get first here.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's actually technically one way you can manipulate. Oh, let's have a look at this. Is Making Jam. Yeah, you just had a bit too much. 1,100
for you to call.
Yeah, it really wounded me on that one. I am coming round now to position after this, where I'll have position.
I'm presumably, I mean, obviously I don't know what happens, I don't know if you find a hand or not, but yeah, and hand goes on, he'll take the blinds. You can't let the blinds come through again, can you, really?
I can't.
So you're going to make a move.
I was aware of this before I got to this stage. I thought, well, give it this long to find a hand when I've still got other people covered. And now I've got position. But
so now it's all about making a move.
But I've got no hand again.
Tricky, because it's been passed to you, and he goes for it. Good luck, James. Obviously, guys, he hasn't done that on the base of his hand. As you can see, he makes a better hand pass. He's done that on his position and his chip stack.
Got them both covered.
Yeah.
If Mr. Perfect calls me, it's not the end of the world if he beats me. I've still got chips left. And I've even got a few left if Making Jam beats me.
Well, it's good play, and the bottom line, as we always say to you, boys and girls, is you can't sit still at this stage in a tournament. You can't wait for a big hand because it may never arrive.
But there I was playing purely a situation and not the cards, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think it was, because of the fact that I've been so selective, it's very hard to call me on that bet. Because surely I must have a hand now. It looks like I've been really waiting for one.
Yeah, I think that's less significant than the fact that people are jeopardising their tournament if they call you. Yes. Obviously that doesn't hurt you, of course it doesn't, but it's a good situation to have them both covered.
But for Making Jam, that's quite a big hand for Making Jam to pass, as it happens.
10-7.
No, before, against me. King 10
King 10 was Mr. Perfect suited.
Oh, it was King 10 suited, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Well, Skinner takes out Steve Talbot. We're down to 6, and the blinds go up to catastrophic proportions.
But if it was in fact King 10, if Mr. Perfect had King 10 suited, sorry, well, he should have called, actually.
Yeah, he should, yeah.
Because...
Skinner with a... I don't think it's an overly tough decision. I think there's a call here, isn't there? He knows Mr. Perfect's going to... Oh, OK.
He's worried about the people behind him. Anyway, Johan now calls with the ace 9.
Well, he actually goes all in, interestingly. He doesn't just call.
No, yes, sorry, yes, he goes all in, which is right, because he just wants to be heads up there.
Oh, Mr. Perfect makes a perfect turn card.
Absolutely. Broadway for Mr. Perfect. What a dream. And Skinner celebrating...
Interesting hand. I think I might have called with the 7s if I was Skinner, but who knows. We're going to freeze the tournament right there for you guys. You won't miss a thing. James is in contention. 6 players left. We're going to slide in a cheeky email before we go away for a bit. Karen has emailed. Now, I know she's had an email read out already tonight. I presume it's the same Karen. Please don't complain. Karen's not going to complain. Hi again. But it's an interesting topic. It's one we brought up, and it's an interesting email. It's her experience as a female poker player. She believes, well, she says, you boys love to call me. You haven't even given us your number. Even when I re-raise with a big hand, especially pre-flop, you boys try to bully me by re-raising. I win in ring games by playing tight and betting my good hands, knowing I'll get action. Interesting. And I wonder if that's why some men have female names. My sister plays a reasonable amount, and she says exactly the same thing. Blokes don't like to put down hands to girls. In MTTs, it can be frustrating, as I find I get sucked out on more, but cash games is a place to make money, so I accept this.
Was that last bit? Cash games?
She sees cash games as a place to make money because she gets action.
All right.
She gets calls on all the good hands. Would you say that's true of most female players? They get called more or not?
Well...
Not in the highfalutin company you keep, obviously.
No, I just think, well, in tournaments, when I see lady players in tournaments, some of them actually do play maybe overly tight.
Right.
And I actually don't think they do get paid with a big hand, so I'm going to be a little bit the other way here. Now, on the internet...
I believe you, Karen.
On the internet, it might be slightly different.
Right.
But I believe what Karen's saying, and if it's working for her, that's great. And
it's just interesting that some people do have female names, and they obviously think it gives them an advantage. I don't know that it does.
I mean, on the internet now,
it's
been done so much now, maybe because people just don't even try to guess the gender of the person.
Right.
Maybe. I mean, it's not something I particularly think, oh, definitely a girl. I don't even think that when I'm playing them.
Definitely a girl, get her.
Yeah, no. No, I think generally, in poker, as I said, in thinking live games, okay, there's exceptions. Lucy Rocash or whatever, she's a monster. She's a great tournament player. She's very aggressive. She's fearless. Quite a lot of the lady players are very, very solid, and perhaps some of the beginner lady players are solid and a bit predictable. And so therefore, when they if they raise, people go, whoa, no thanks. And if anything, I think the lady player in that situation has the advantage that she can actually steal because she's got such a reputation.
Round of applause for the phrase lady play. Something I enjoy.
Yes.
I get the chance. As you all know, we've been running the lyric competition. Many of you have got it right. The results are in. I'll give it to you after the break. This is how to get in touch, guys. 84222 is the text number. And that's coming on your screen right now. We've got another hour to get through, so you've still got time to get your text or email read out. Still buzzing. We're still as energetic and excited as when we started.
And the last hour, we get more energy.
Poker and pokernightlife.co.uk. How does that happen?
Because we have a Red Bull.
Do we? And just our general love of being up late at night, like naughty schoolboys.
Exactly.
Guys, we're going to be back for the rest of James's tournament, the end of the multi-table tournament. Don't forget that. Keep those text and emails coming in. Our final phone instalment right now. It's our final phone-in section of the night, and once again we're back with Roy, the boy, Brinley, joining us again. Roy, how are you?
I'm in good form, thanks, mate.
Good. We were talking before about the poker scene in here and in America as well, and you're talking about the respect that the big players get over in America. And you just feel that there's more dead money, more profit to be made in those big American tournaments.
People don't justify the respect they get, but I blame ESPN for this because ESPN can't put together a poker production without pinpointing, 5 players. They're walking to the hall, at the Rio now, the home of the World Series. There'll be 2,000 players in the room, and let's go and look at table 57B, where the great Phil Hamlet's about to pass, or table 74, where Doyle Brunson's about to make a flat call. And they make superstars out of these people, and a lot of people. If you really look at their record, there's people out there boasting they've got 5 and 6 bracelets. Well, they don't tell us they played every event in the World Series for the past 15 years. Now, if you play 700 tournaments, I think you deserve to win 1 or 2 along the way, especially when the World Series, a lot of these events used to have 20 and 30 runners. Some of these RAS tournaments and the like, there was 25 runners in there. To say you won a World Series bracelet against 25 other people, to me, is null and void.
So give us a couple of names. We've already mentioned Mickey Wernick. Give us a couple of names of players that you've seen play and rate who perhaps our viewers won't have heard of.
Stu Fox has really impressed me. He made an absolute dog's ear of a pass in Dublin during the main event of the Irish Open, but took that one poor play out of the way, which we all make with amazing frequency. So it's very forgivable. His record is outstanding. He doesn't play a lot of tournaments, and he's made a lot of final tables, and he's still new to the scene, and he's very underrated.
I agree with you there, Roy. I think he's a very exciting player here, Stuart. I know what his secret is. On the internet, he plays loads and loads and loads of sit and goes all the time, and that's where he's got his tournament skills from.
Yeah, I like to go on results. There's a lot of big names out there that have got outrageous sponsorship deals and bits and pieces. Look at their record. What have they actually won? I mean, some people out there getting a lot of money wearing a T-shirt and they've achieved nothing. And yet the people that tend to do well, win tournaments, make a lot of final tables just because they're not that way inclined to go out and promote themselves. They're not high-profile players, and yet they've got the results. Mickey Wernick was in that mould for a long time. Even now, he's not the most outgoing of fellas. He's a thoroughly nice guy. I like him a lot, but he's not the first guy to sort of jump up and down and say, put me on TV and let me wear your T-shirt and blah, blah, blah. He doesn't self-promote himself. So there's a lot of good players out there, and some of the best players I know that make money out of poker. They enjoy being anonymous. They don't crave for the spotlight at all. They get their head down, they do their bit, quietly make their money, and thank you very much.
See, it's interesting to see what happens, though, because if we look at the European rankings the year before, John Falconer was way up there, wasn't he?
Yeah. But
Burnley John, but it come courtesy of 2 tournaments, didn't it? He got a second place in the big one in the Vic, and he won the Irish Open. Again, 2 tournaments. You've played against Burnley John, so have I. He's a very tight player, and when things go his way, they will go his way. But he strikes as a player that's quite dependent on cards and probably just lacks a gear or two, and he needs to make some moves later on in the tournament.
Roy, we've got a minute or so left. You've already said you're not playing as much as you used to. What does the rest of the year hold for you, poker-wise, on and off the table?
Poker Mini is obviously the big hurrah. Thankfully, I won my seat to that in the Fitzwilliam Casino in Dublin, so it's not often you get a chance to play in a 72-runner tournament for $1 million or 1.2 million, so I'm looking forward to that a lot. That's in June. Unfortunately, it clashes with the WPT, where I tend to do quite well on the first day, and then, unfortunately, the wheels drop off on the second day. One of these days, they're going to tell me it's a 3-day comp, and then I won't know them at the end, if you know what I mean. Beyond that, I don't really know. I've not pinpointed too much. I've not made plans to do this, that, or the other. I'm just taking it sort of week by week now. With so many other bits and pieces cropping up, it's so hard to sort of come up with a firm schedule.
Roy, I just want to compliment you. I've just had a look at your site, www.roytheboy.net. Very smart indeed.
Yeah, it's a bit of a kitchen table job. It's been a bit of fun putting together. Obviously, it hasn't had fortune spent on it, but just to give people a few tips and have a bit of fun,
Great. Well, viewers can check that out if they'd like to know more about Roy. Roy, thanks so much for being with us tonight. Great pleasure talking to you. We'll hear from Roy again later on Poker Night Live on another night, I'm sure. For now, we're going to take a short break. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be back very, very soon.
The Irish Poker Open.
Welcome back, you poker-crazy kids. I'm Nick Wealthall. You know that. This is James Browning. You also know that. Poker Night Live is in its final hour this Tuesday morning. I hope you're having fun. You're still with us.
We're buzzing.
We're buzzing. We've seen some good poker tonight, and we're in the middle of James's tournament. We'll get to that. Quick email. As promised, the lyric competition is closed. No more entries, please. We've been absolutely inundated. Fantastic response for a non-existent prize. The winner has to be, several of you got it right. It is, of course, Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice. The winner is Rob, because he gave us the full lyrics. The tragedy, Rob, is that I know the lyrics. I learnt them when I was 15. I was at school to impress girls. It didn't work. But yeah, nice to see them written out. I hope you didn't type, I hope you cut and paste, seriously, because there's a lot of them. But my favourite, quick to the point, no faking, cooking MCs like a pound of bacon. Oh yeah, you know what I'm saying. That's rubbish, isn't it? It was rubbish. Still, there we are. He had his moment in the sun. His finest work, of course, on the farm, Channel 5. We got a proper email from Voice of Joe. It says, hi, Nick and James. Great show as always. Thank you, mates. What strategy should you employ in the early stages of a tournament? Well, this is, of course, in my opinion, the hardest bit of a tournament, in fact, because get off to a good start. You get an advantage in stack size over the field, and you're sitting pretty. If you go off to a slow start, it can be very difficult because bigger stacks start to push you around. Joe writes, when I first began dabbling in the game a year or so ago, I'm sure the usual instruction was not to get involved early on, i.e. you can only lose a tournament in the early rounds, not win it. However, now I see a lot of experts suggesting playing value hands, these are his quotes, while the blinds are small. The problem I find with value hands, i.e. 6-7 suited, for instance, is that you can quite often catch a bit of the flop, find yourself committing chips to a pot, and before you know it, wham bam, you've blown your stack, if you excuse the expression. Yeah. And you're either skint or very near and out on your behind. What's your opinions? I would hazard a guess James would be more careful in the early stages than yourself, presumably means me, and he's probably right. Early stage of tournament, tricky, James, and there are definitely different ways to play because different successful players have different strategies early on, don't they?
I have got nothing against in the early stages. If you're playing in a deep stack structure tournament and you've now got a huge lot of play, because we look at how much the round is costing you and we're looking at how many chips you've got. Well, if you've got loads and loads of rounds of play, I've got no problems with you being adventurous. Late position, maybe slip in there with your suited connectors. Definitely call with your small pairs, hoping to hit trips, because you've got enough money, enough chips that you can afford to try, missed, never mind, try, missed, never mind, try, missed, never mind, bing, hit it. Hope that someone overplays one pair in the early stages, because that's what you shouldn't be doing, and catch that person. No problems. Yes, I think when you've got play, you can play, but let's keep the price of the pots down. Let's control the game. And if we control the game, there's no problem. One last thing is, if you half connect, chuck it away. Don't start trying to push your hand. Don't say, I've got to win this pot. You haven't, and that's the point. You don't have to win it in the early stages. Later on a pot, maybe you have to win it because time is running out. If you've got plenty of time, i.e. loads of chips left, don't overplay your hands. But yes, be adventurous. Nothing wrong with it.
How much an advantage, I mean, this is a difficult question because I can't make it specific, but how much an advantage do you think it is to double up early on or to have a big increase in your stack early on? Because I used to think it was very, very little. I now think I don't think it's huge because, as you say, you don't win the tournament in the early stages. But at the same time, I do think it's an advantage to get chips early.
Oh, listen, the more chips you get, the more play you've got. So if you do double up, it means this period early on, I think once you've got this great multiple of the rounds, of which a round's going to cost you, I think you can play lots of different hands. Obviously, if you double up, but that will disappear once we get through maybe 2 or 3 levels. However, if we double up, of course, now we can go to the 4th level and still play more hands because we've got more chips.
Quick question, sprung it on you. You guys at home might want to play this. It's the first hand, hypothetical, first hand of the World Series of Poker. You're in the big blind, it's passed to the small blind. He goes all in and he shows you Queen Jack. You look down at your cards and you see Ace King. Call or fold? You might want to think about that at home. May get James's feelings later in the tournament. In the tournament, in the programme, it's not.
I play it. I play.
Yeah?
Yep.
You take the
Up
roughly 60-40.
64% is better. I'm nearly 2s on.
You need 2-1 on.
Yeah.
But you jeopardise your tournament life.
I do, but it's just, I know exactly where I am here, and it now means virtually 2 times out of 3 I'm going to have a double stack, and now probably in quite good shape for quite a while. I've got quite a lot, because of what you've said, I've got the implied odds of what having that bigger stack is worth.
Bade hit a queen, though.
He probably
Sorry.
would, yeah.
What do you think, guys? Anybody wouldn't take it? Anyone would pass? You've got ace-king, first hand of the World Series of Poker, jeopardise your tournament, but you have got, as James says, almost a 2-1 advantage. Would anyone pass in that situation? poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. A little bit of poker trip. Let's get back to James Browning's tournament. We have 5 or 6 left. Let's have a look. 6 left, I'm told. And the blinds are up to 326.40, and we join it with Johan Harren about to steal the blinds. But he's actually got the best hand, so he's not really stealing at all, is he?
No, 6-handed, king 10 on the button is a pretty big hand just against 2 blind hand. It's in fact likely to be favoured against.
It's interesting when Johan Harren does make a move from late position. He very often goes all in to eliminate the possibility of someone coming over the top of him. I believe.
He plays very powerfully. I've got to surrender again. Mr. Perfect's got 9-10. He's up against a pair of queens. It's against making jam. And
it's
of course,
only
it's
another
not
800, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And I think he doesn't like it, but he has to call. And he's quite happy that he called, really.
There we go.
He's just flopped the straight.
That is the time to flop a straight, isn't it?
And poor old making jam, very unlucky there. Obviously had far the better hand before the flop. Very cruel. Got killed by Mr. Perfect, who flopped a straight. And Mr. Perfect's come back from a very low stack in this tournament.
Yeah, he's done well. Making jam really a cruel outcome, but the problem was he didn't have enough chips to make people pass.
Right, now I'm in trouble. Sorry, Nick, I'm in trouble here now. I'm down to 1680. King 3, I deliberated there. But
I guess, was the reason that you passed, you thought that Skinner would call you with any decent hand?
I had a feeling, and I don't like the 3.
100.
I don't like the 3.
1,000, sorry, it only cost him 1,000. Now what, Ease HK is all in. You obviously aren't going to play because there's a good chance he gets knocked out here, isn't there? Oh, you are playing.
I go all in. I'll tell you why, time's running out. The big blind 640 next. I can't afford to put 640 in my view. And
I didn't pick up on that. Obviously, if Ease HK is knocked out, you've got the big blind.
Yes. So. And I can't afford it. I think this is quite good. It also, if there's 2 people, it can beat 2 people. Queen Jack suited. It's quite a strong hand.
You don't want Johan Harren to play, though, in an ideal world, do you?
I don't want him to play, no. I'm hoping I can push him out, but I haven't got that much. I think he might play, but I think, well, Queen Jack suited can play against more than one person. But I can't afford to wait for 640. I'm too weak.
Yeah.
My time was nigh, and I just had to take it. I didn't enjoy it particularly, but I had to make the move.
Well, you hit your hand, and it's all worked out.
When I look at it retrospectively, I think it was the right play.
Well, I think
considering the size of the blinds.
You've got every reasonable possibility to expect that you've got the best hand there, because Ease HK is going to put his chips in with almost anything.
Exactly. He doesn't have to have anything.
And Queen Jack's not the worst hand. Every chance nobody's got anything behind you.
Johan there, pressuring there on the big blind.
Yeah, he's played almost faultless poker, hasn't he, Johan, this tournament?
I was small blind, and I was hoping that Mr. Perfect would fight. And he's now found a hand now. And he's come right back in it. He's gone to second place. I've got 10-5. I decided not to do nothing. Mr. Perfect there, Jack 8 on the button. And it's a pass. It's a walk for Johan, and that's amazing. It takes him up to 5,000. I'm on the big blind with Jack 7. Johan, all in. Oh, goodness.
Doesn't stop, does he?
No, and I put that down, Jack 7. It's just it doesn't feel like a great calling hand when it's just coming round again. I've got Mr. Perfect with less chips.
And you're on the bubble.
And I'm on the bubble. I decided to leave that one.
Well, horrible situation for Mr. Perfect now. He's really under pressure.
Well, I think Mr. Perfect might well play. I'm going to pass mine there. Mr. Perfect, a pretty ugly looking hand. He's got 14-20 left.
It's worse than he thinks as well, because Skinner's got an 8 in his hand.
but he passes it. I can't really blame him there. It's coming on to 320. Still got chips after that.
Difficult decision for you, James. Try and pick up the blinds or not. Obviously, pushing you not to is the fact that Skinner's got you covered, but at the same time it's hard for you to weigh, isn't it? Now, it's going to cost Skinner about half his stack to call, slightly less. Yeah, well, we saw him throw that pair of sevens before, and those are two calls that I think I would have made. I think I would have called you there with King 10.
Thank goodness it wasn't you.
Well, you can't say for sure, can you? But because Skinner can lose that hand and still win the tournament.
Did you happy enough with my bet then or not?
Oh, yeah, you can't. You're on the button, it's being passed to you. There's every chance that they'll both fold. You've got just enough chips, you don't want to wait.
I found a hand.
Hallelujah. So, yeah, happy with your play. I think it's a difficult one for Skinner, but because he's got you covered and it's a chance to knock you out,
here's
I
my
think he should
here.
have taken it.
He's raised all in. Oh, not all in, he's set me all in. I've called with ace-queen. I can't wait around. It doesn't matter that I'm on the bubble here. I've decided I can't, this is too good a position to miss.
Yeah, and...
so I'm not going to just pass this fight for the bubble, to avoid the bubble. I decide, no, this is too good an opportunity. He will raise with something worse than ace-queen. I've got to take my opportunity. If he gets me, good luck.
Yeah.
So that was my decision there. Didn't want to try and limp in against regarding Mr. Perfect. I could have passed and had more chips than Mr. Perfect, but too good an opportunity, I felt. Are we... Your agreement again?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, this is quite nice.
You almost certainly got the best hand.
We checked here. With no agreement, obviously.
That would be wrong.
And he did have a pair, I had a pair, but we wanted to get the other guy out. Now we're in the last three.
You've cashed, and you've got all the chips.
Yes. Now, here, I've got a reasonable hand. I could push with this, but I think there's a good chance that Skinner and Johan will just fight this out.
Well, Skinner's got so few chips.
And this is what does happen.
Mm.
And what happened here is I've actually gone into second place without actually taking a risk. Now, as it happens, I had the better kicker, but I'm not to know that. And it would have been a split pot between Johan and I, because it would have been 2 8s and 2 5s, both of us with the jack. But again, I thought, OK, they'll fight each other. That is a situation there where I can allow them to fight. So it's the risk-reward ratio is my equity can go up with no risk at all, so it can't be bad. Now I've got 4 king here against Johan. I've decided to push.
Mm-hmm.
And Johan passes. It's king 2. And now Johan returns a compliment. He raises all in.
Well, there's not a huge amount of skill here, is there? In this heads up. The blinds are so big.
They are, but I decided to put that down. I've still got chip lead there with it. Was a pretty dodgy hand, 6-2. I thought I'd rather wait to attack. I wasn't quite getting enough odds to call with the bad hand before, and I prefer to do that with it the next time.
Yeah.
Now the same situation here is, again, I'm not quite getting the odds that I want to call with a really bad hand, because 8-2 is a really bad hand again, and it's not quite giving me enough odds. I do really think I'm round about the 2-1 dog probably with that hand, and I'm not quite getting enough odds, so again I have to pass. I'm annoyed that I have to pass, because I'd like to have a shot at finishing there and then. And this one, I'm out of position here on the small blind, and so I don't like the hand here either particularly. I could have pushed, but I decided to pass. Still got the chip lead, so I still will kill him in one go.
Well...
And I decided to call that. I believe that it's a calling hand. It's a chance to finish him off.
And he's hit his hand, unfortunately.
So I was favoured there to win it there and then. So I was quite pleased that I'd picked the right moment to try and finish him off. So now I'm pushing with anything now. I push with 9-8. I'm underdog this time against Queen 5. He's hit his Queen.
And Johan Harren
And well done, Johan Harren.
wins it.
Played very well, Johan. And as you normally do in those sit and goes.
Yeah, and if we remember, he had that one big play where he made that semi-bluff re-raise or check raise all in with the
If we look at
straight
the movement there, you see Johan there in the green and myself in the orange, similar shape to our...
Yeah, but you see at the end there, you go right down at the end.
Yeah, that's a bit I don't like.
Right, yeah.
I hate to droop at the end.
Yeah.
It's no good.
Better than at the beginning, to be honest, mate. Well played, Johan, and well played, James Browning. A battle for the ages. Two titans coming together to form naked war. I saw it.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed playing with you all. I thought it was a good sit and go. I thought the standard was pretty good, actually.
Yeah, and there was some interesting play.
Really good standard in that sit and go.
Yeah, it was good. Hope you enjoyed it at home, guys. We've got an email from Balrog UK, who says, first of all, well done in the sit and go, James.
Thank you, Balrog.
He went out of a multi-table tournament today, and it's led him to think about playing against bullies.
Okay.
So hopefully this will be helpful for everybody. He was in the money and went out 30-something. He had the chip leader at his table who was bullying most of the time. 2 out of 3 hands, he says, for the last half an hour. He'd been caught once or twice and we saw his misdemeanours, so obviously the situation is everybody knows he's not playing great cards all the time. He was in early position and raised about 36,000. The blinds are 400 and 800. So there we are. I was on the big blind with Ace King and 45,000. I'd waited for a couple of rounds for a hand, decided as soon as I saw Ace King it was going in whatever. So our hero's sitting there with 45,000, the raise is 36, so if he's going to play, he's playing for everything. The thing is, I knew I didn't have enough chips to get him to put down and that he'd call the extra. Absolutely, it's only 9,000. Well, I think it's the right thing. I was just wondering, with a bully, is Ace King enough, knowing that others had spotted him too, and there's a chance someone may get him with a made hand? Well, not if you're on the big blind. I appreciate my chip stack was not big enough, as I was more or less desperate need at the time, although I feel with a bigger stack in my hands, I would have got him to lay it down. He hit 2 pair on the flop and I went out. The question is, what do you do to take hands do you need to take bullies on with? Very good question. Is it completely dependent on fold equity? Well, I know we get a reasonable amount of emails on the subject of maniac players and bullies. James, what do you think?
Again, listen, it's not just like a set formula against bullies, because bullies will be playing slightly differently at different times. Our tournament decisions are still determined more by our situation in that tournament. You know, how much play have we got in that tournament? We've got to look at the person making the bet. Is the person desperate? Is he likely to be pushing? Well, let's give him a big exaggeration. Okay, if the guy's got a very short stack, we saw something in this sit and go similar. The guy's got a very short stack, he's under the gun, it's his big blind next. What sort of hands is he going to be pushing with? Well, probably a lot of hands. So therefore your calling window is far bigger, far larger, because you realise a guy could push with anything. Now, when you're playing against these bullies, monitor their play, monitor, when you see the hands go to a showdown, monitor what hands that they play with. Now, you will get an idea of what window of hands that player plays with. Now you can adjust your calling window accordingly. And as Nick mentioned earlier in the show, you now basically are setting a percentage for the likelihood of all the hands, and basically a percentage for pure bluff, etc., if it's later on in the hand. Then, with that, this is how you judge what hands you can play or call with.
And the specific example he gave, would you put your tournament on the line with Ace King there?
I'm terribly sorry, I've forgotten the actual
well, the blinds are very
situation.
small. The blinds are 400 and 800, and the chip leaders made it 36,000 to go. One of these crazy raises.
Right.
And our hero's on the big blind, he's got 45,000 left, and he's got Ace King.
And he's well above average chips, our Ace King guy, I think. Or not?
I think he must be, given those.
Okay. No, I can quite easily, in tournaments, I can quite easily. Ace King is a hand I want to be betting with, not calling with.
Yeah.
Because it's still an underdog against a mere pair of twos.
Yeah, I think you'd You'd want a pocket pair.
With ace-king, the strength of it is I can raise with it, I can re-raise with it. That's the power of the hand. Just calling with it, you've got to connect.
Yeah, because the problem is that he can have any two cards, and he's not that.
And this
he's not that far
You're not
behind,
desperate.
is he?
Now listen, if your chip situation was worse, well, you go, hey, come on then, that's fine. Like in this situation for me, we'll give the example. Ace-queen, with the state of that play there, I go, yes, okay, I might go out in the bubble, but I'm not going to find a better... I've only found one hand the whole tournament, a pair of tens. This is my second hand of the whole tournament. He can be raising with anything on the button. Ace-queen, I might get knocked out fourth. Never mind, let's get it in here. I could well be favourite.
Of course, it is so situational. Good
And
advice
that's the
from
situation,
James.
isn't it?
poker@pokerlightlive.co.uk for your emails, guys. You've still got about half an hour. I do have some, but I still want more.
Yes. He's greedy.
You can still get your advice free of charge here on Poker Night Live, as every night. We've got our multi-table tournament. If you can remember back that far, we checked in with it at the beginning of the evening, and we're now going to see the final stages. It's the Poker Night Live League tournament, and here's the final table. Let's have a look.
It's PML on PNL.
Indeed, we've got 5 players left. And the chip leader when we last checked in was Cream Cage with 24,000, I think he had, and he's only gone from strength to strength. Look at 111,000.
And we've got Snap It there with 40,000.
And interestingly, by contrast, Robbie's been short stacked the whole way, and he's still one of our shorter stacks.
But he's in the last 5.
He's in the last 5. Good pass there from Tex Hold'em Fla, whatever that is. And yeah, can Snap It. Well played. He's been with the show for a long time. The blind's just gone up to 2,000, 4,000. They're playing for $225 first prize, but also points on the Poker Night Live League, which you can all get involved with by going to our website, pokernightlive.co.uk, and checking out the forums where you can find details of how to register for these Monday weekly tournaments. We can't play.
Oh, right.
Another thing we're not allowed to do.
We're not allowed to play in that?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, right, because they often invite us to play in it.
Do they? Oh, maybe we can then.
Well, they'd probably just invite us, although we can't.
Maybe we can. Maybe we can. I don't know why I thought we couldn't. I'm not very bright, really. King, Queen for Snap It. I just cut across your insult then.
It's okay. Good move.
You know, attack
You ducked
before
it.
you have to defend.
Yeah, you did. That was good.
Good enough for Snap It. And basically we've got 1 big stack and 4 slightly iffy stacks with 10 times the big blind or less.
Each round costing 6,000.
Now, I think it's an interesting situation to be in a tournament when you're one of the small stacks and there's 1 big stack. It's that kind of, should I stay or should I go dilemma. Should I try and push on and build a stack to try and win the tournament, or should I try and hang on because the other guys will go out and my money will go up?
Yeah, well, basically, chips do indicate your likelihood of winning the tournament.
Yeah.
And in this case, when you do have a massive chip leader, you know, he is favoured to win this tournament. So, therefore, second place does take a bigger priority than normal because it is more achievable.
I think the example that I always remember is TJ Cloutier in the World Championship, the year Chris Ferguson won. I can't remember what year that was. I'm very bad with years.
Right.
Doesn't matter. Not too long ago. But he came to the final table, the final 6 table, as the shortest stack. He was very short stack. Chris Ferguson had an enormous amount of the chips. I think he had like 60% of the chips or something crazy. And TJ Cloutier just sat there and didn't play, and everybody else knocked each other out. TJ arrived at the heads up with something ridiculous, like a 20th of the chips. Hardly had any chips. And No Limit Hold'em, of course, was able to fight back. Had that amazing tussle, and then got desperately unlucky on the last hand.
Yeah.
But it's I guess it depends on the players involved, doesn't it? If they're going to knock each other out and you can hang on for second, as you rightly say, that's worth doing.
Well, second takes more priority when you've got a huge chip leader. The other thing which happens is, our guidelines we should look at in our tournament is, we should be looking at how much each round costs us, we should be looking at that in relation to the size of our stack. We should be looking at the average chip stack at the stage of the tournament we're in. Now, when you have one guy who's accumulated a lot of chips, your average stack, now you don't have to have average chips anymore, because
very important point.
you can take him out the equation and now look at yourself compared with the rest of the chips in the tournament in relation to everyone else. And now you can see your standing. Because now, although you're under pressure, will feel under pressure, there's going to be people more under pressure than you.
Yeah.
So it does become a little bit like a separate tournament. But at the end of the day, this is not terrible, because it doesn't matter what you end up going into the last two with.
That's right.
The blinds will be bigger by then. You can get lucky, and you don't have to get as lucky because the blinds are bigger, so you don't have to get as lucky so many times.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, what you're saying is win the mini tournament, and it doesn't matter what.
If there's an outrageous leader, yes, that's right. But again, let's not fall in love with places. If the cards are right, if the situation seems right, well,
you've still got to be willing to commit.
Yes, because at the end of the day, you still have to get chips somewhere.
Yeah. Well, currently, since we joined, I don't think Cream Cage has played a hand. So he's obviously aware of the situation, is happy to sit there and wait for the prize money to go up.
Which I don't really think that is completely correct. I think people sometimes go berserk when they're chip leader, but what I think the chip leader should be doing is he should be looking for situations, again more than cards, he should be looking for situations where he can squeeze these lower stacked guys who he knows are having a little bit of a mini battle.
Yeah.
So he can starve them of the blinds when the opportunity arises. And he can starve them for not too big a raise. Oh, and that's good. He's just done the flat raise, which I think is right at this stage. And he's going to get the contest here. And he's played this very well. Excellent play from Cream Cage.
Can Robbie get away from it? You doubt it with his chips.
No.
You can't.
And he's gone up and down straight.
He
Oh my goodness, he's found it. And he's gone to be chip leader. Well, that was...
Well, that's the interesting thing about the situation. Cream Cage was the big stack, but his problem was that if he lost one double through, he suddenly wasn't chip leader anymore, I think, to any of the players.
Well, still, he's not too bad. He's still a good...
No,
yeah.
No,
but
fine.
I thought he played the hand... Whatever happened, I thought he played that really well. He wants to have this contest with one of the guys there.
Mm-hmm.
If he wins that, he's even further in the lead. And pair of kings, he can't hope for any better than this.
No, absolutely not.
So he was unlucky, and pair of kings against pair of tens, he's in great shape. But now
straight flush draw for 24 Ginger.
Now the important thing is in a tournament, Nick, if we do have one of these disasters, what I want people to do is to quickly forget about that disaster. If he hadn't... Forget about it, it's gone, it's happened. I want people now to say, just let me recheck my situation. And let's pretend that hand didn't happen. Right, I've now got 72,000 chips. What's each round costing me? What's the average stack of chips? Etc., etc. And then just say, and this is the tournament, and this is how I have to play now. And just take that in your hand and concentrate on that and forget about the what-ifs and what could have happened. You can think about that over a cup of tea later, but it's not going to do you any good in the tournament. Regroup and take the situation as it is into hand and play from there. And I think that's really important to do. And I don't think enough people do it. I think they spend 10 minutes fretting over what could have been.
Absolutely, they do.
And it affects their play. They now don't play well because of it.
Yeah.
Just imagine you've been transported into a fresh tournament, sort of time machine. There you are, Nick. 72,000 chips. These are the blinds. Play.
Well, this is the reality of poker, and if you can't do that, then you are going to have limited success at the game, because you are always where you are, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
You've always got the chips you've got, and the cards and the chips don't know that you've just had a terrible loss.
This is Nick.
So you have to completely reassess.
Yes.
Every time.
Yeah. This is Nick after he's been doing all his vanilla ice stuff. You get what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Get what I mean?
Check it.
Check it, man. Get what I mean?
James, you will never understand the language of the street.
Really?
I was born to it.
Ah.
Look at this move from Snap It.
He's got street cred.
I think we could be losing Snap It here. Oh, 24 ginger pass. How can he pass that?
Can we look at that?
That's an extraordinary pass. Well, to pass top pair there to the other blind, when he wasn't even being asked to commit his whole tournament.
And what
Extraordinary
did it,
pass.
What did it? It was
Press the
Snap It, street cred.
Snap It's image as being very tight.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So he got paid off
Yeah,
for his image.
extraordinary pass, that one, if you ask me.
Snap It.
Image
Pair of
or no image, what's he flopped out of the small blind? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Extraordinary pass. Still, well done to Snap It. Bold move, it paid off.
Nick Wealthall still in rack mode.
I don't think
mean?
Snap It will believe it when he sees the TV
No, he won't.
replay.
Anyway, he takes that one down and Snap It. Now look how it's levelled out this tourney now. We've got 3 in the 50s, Robbie in the 66, and now Tex Hold'em really languishing behind there in 5th place with 15,000.
He's probably got to commit with this, hasn't he?
And I think he should go all in.
Yeah.
And it's a good play, well done. And Robbie can't call.
13,000 to call.
Can't call it, I don't think.
I'd just like to read you a note from 1999 in my poker notes.
Okay.
My session hinged on one hand when my trip queens were beaten by a maniac playing Jack 5 with a straight on the river. Quotes. I was pleased with my even-tempered response to this. Brilliant.
We didn't hear what the response
what a pompous
was.
arse.
We didn't hear what the response was, though. You lucky man.
I can actually remember, it's weird how you remember hands, isn't it? I can actually remember that hand, and it was in one of the craziest poker games I've ever played in my life, in the Bellagio. Very near, obviously I'd only been playing a year, 3-6 game.
Nick, quick interlude.
Mountains of chips there
All
were.
in from Tex Hold'em. We'll go back to that. I think he's going to... What's the ace 2 going to do?
Well, if he passes top pair, he's passing an ace, isn't he?
Good play by Tex Hold'em there. He knows he has to do things. That's good.
Yeah,
I like this play from him. Well done. He's stole it again. Yes, back to the Bellagio.
I think that was it. It's just absolutely, you can't imagine how crazy the game was. It's capped. We were playing 3-6 limit,
right?
Allegedly, but actually we were playing. I don't know what we were playing. 12-18, I would have thought, or something. And it was literally the kind of game where your whole session turned on one pot. You just needed to take down 1 or 2 pots, and you double your buy-in. The pots were huge. Limit poker, this is we were playing. And I remember sitting there for an hour and a half and finally getting my pocket queens, cap before the flop, hit the set on the flop. I was betting as much as they'd allow me.
Yeah.
And
Jack 5 makes it straight.
Jack 5 makes it straight. That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. But those games, and you can find them in Vegas, you can find them all over the place in the Mirage. And now he's in trouble.
Yes, he's in trouble now. He's tried it once too often, and he's a goner. Queen 7.
Yeah. And I wouldn't condemn him for that. He's got to keep moving because he's still the short stack at the table. Maybe he got a little bit trigger happy there with his successes. I don't know.
And the problem was there. He has actually got the guy who can actually afford maybe to call him.
Robbie is now our chip leader. When we watched him earlier in the evening, I think you were playing at the time, James. Not sure, but we saw him. First time we saw his multi-table, Robbie was going all in.
Wow.
With about 2,500 chips, and he survived. And now look.
Snap its call with Jack 7.
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it?
Now what does he do?
Planning on making a move of some kind? I don't know.
18,000 in the pot, but probably thinking, why did I call with Jack 7? And creamed cage there, bets 16,000.
Well, he does have a pair.
And he does have a pair, and he also got a backdoor flush with his king. And it's often quite nice to have the big diamond in your hand because it's less likely that your opponent's got a flush draw. Snap it. In 4th place, but he doesn't want to play with that hand. And the 6,000, he's still got a bit of play. But here, I think if I was him, I would Queen King. Never mind Queen King. I would push with this now, and he's done the same.
He's done that.
Good play. And that is an exception to my King-Queen rule, and that's the perfect time to do it. Well done, Snap It. I would have done exactly the same, sir.
I should just point out that Tex Hold'em was our first prize winner in this tournament. $45 he's gone home with. And these four continue to battle out for the remaining prizes. $225 is the top one. And we've got an interesting tournament now. Obviously, the stacks are much more level than when we join the final table.
And we've got Robbie, Queen Jack. He's done the fat raise, which I like with his situation, with his chip leader status. If you can get away with doing that, it means you can put in far more raises. I set a little problem the other night, and someone, of course, on P&L got it right, as they always do. Yeah. I said, which top player? Oh, I'll just ask you.
Oh, dear. Yes.
No, it's all right. There's no embarrassment if you don't know. He's one of the top 5 money winners. He doesn't play all the time, even. And his normal raise is 2 times the big blind.
Oh, that's easy.
But sometimes he raises 2.5 times the big blind.
An easy one. Alan Goering.
Very good.
Did you read the interview with him in Card Player?
Yes.
So it was very interesting. He's had phenomenal success when you look at
the number of tournaments he's played.
He plays the equivalent of 1 day a week, he says.
Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's won against the very best.
I was speaking to Willie Tan yesterday, who I think is a great tournament player.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Pocket Rockets.
Yeah, praying for somebody to make a move at this.
Yeah. Oh, not a floppy light. 5, 6, 7. Couldn't be much worse. Well, at least it's not suited. Robbie with his top pair. Ouch.
Could be a problem, couldn't it?
No, 24 ginger makes it 20,000. And Robbie should get away from that. He does.
Yeah, nice pass.
Well done. Yes, Willie Tan, who actually won the tournament. It was a £500 freeze out at Luton yesterday.
Yeah.
And he ended up winning the tournament. And I mentioned, he came up at the table actually, mentioned about Alan Goering.
Could have a horrible beat here. No, split it up.
To Willie Tan, and he said that he'd played with him. He said, oh, he is a tremendous player.
Really?
That was in Willie Tan's words. He said, absolutely fantastic player.
Yeah.
Really rated him. Really, really rated him. So that's very interesting for Willie. I haven't heard sort of Willie sort of go wild about many players, and
right.
he certainly was very complimentary about Alan Goering.
Well, Alan Goering only enters tournaments, he was saying in this article.
With good structures.
Yeah, I can't remember the number, but with a huge, average stack.
Yeah, and that's great, and it's because he wants to experience the different styles of play. He wants to be able to have this period when you've got a lot of play, and then have to adjust your play accordingly as the tournament progresses, and that's how it should be. That's how tournament poker should be.
Well,
I also believe
there should be, as long as possible. I believe anyway. There should be as long as possible in the tournament before it becomes 2-card poker.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Because once it becomes 2-card poker, which is of course what we see on most of the televised tournaments because they're the final tables.
Oops! All in from Snap It.
Yes,
okay.
Nice move. It's a different game. For me, it's a much less interesting game, and arguably, I guess, but I think a little bit less skillful game.
No, that's right. It's exciting, obviously. People, especially on the tournament poker where they haven't a pair of 8s, he pushes here, I can't blame him. He wants to avoid. Oh, it's a straight. Yeah. Ace, King, Queen, Jack, 10. Unlucky, Snap It. You did nothing wrong. I thought you played very well in those latter stages.
50-50 proposition. And Ginger's now chip leader as Snap It busts out. He'll get $67 for his trouble, for his $5 stake.
But full marks for Snap It. I think he changed gear. I think he pushed when he had to push, played aggressively when he had to be aggressive.
Yeah, we saw a couple of very un-Snap It-like moves.
Which is exactly what we want to see. And I think one of them you got rewarded, Ken, because of your reputation, and you've got a guy to put a big hand down.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be. You know, you've been playing one style and then get paid off with another style. So that was really good.
3 for the money now, and the blind's at 4,000, 8,000.
Yes, I must admit this tournament at Luton. I'll have to let you know when it's on because you'd like it. The structure. It was a £500 tournament. Freeze out, obviously. Started at 4 p.m. and the levels were 45 minutes.
Let's see if Robbie makes this call, James. He does. Cream cage is all in, and he survives. And doubles up through Robbie.
Yes, 45-minute levels, and just a gradual increase in the blinds, and just loads of play. And I kept on checking it. I kept on checking what the average chip stack was, and seeing how it related to how many rounds of play you had. And it was a lot of play throughout the tournament.
Right. That's what you want.
That's how it should be.
Yeah, unfortunately, and it's understandable because obviously casinos have got to play for dealers and that kind of thing. Unfortunately, you do have to play the bigger buy-in tournaments to get those good structures. You're not going to get them for a £20 tournament, I'm afraid.
No, and I can sympathise with the casino's dilemma, just as you can, because one, the tournament will tie up their staff.
Yeah.
And these staff are also trained to be dealing the house games, such as roulette, and blackjack, and punter, etc., etc. Also, if the players are tied up in the tournament, the casino would like them to be playing a cash game where they're taking session charges, so they can make some money. So one can see the dilemma they're in.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see an all-in here. We do from Cream Cage. I think 24 Ginger has to call with the odds he's getting from the pot. Ace or a 9 needed, or a king. Doesn't happen, and we lose Cream Cage, our long-time chip leader. Yeah, found a hand which he thought might be the best, and went all in with it.
And who can blame him? I think it wasn't a bad decision at all, just unlucky.
Third place brings him $90 and some points for the league table. This is the Poker Night Live Private Members League. It says private members, but any of you can play. Just go to the website, pokernightlive.co.uk, go to the forums, and you will find out how to get involved. There's an ongoing league, which the results of these tournaments each Monday night will feed into. And this Monday night, we've got Heads Up 24 Ginger and Robbie. We've only got 7 minutes left in the show, guys, so we may or may not see the end of this little battle. Let's hope we do.
Yep, and it's 9-10, raises it up. But difficult for 4-9 to call it. And 24 Ginger takes one small step further towards getting all the chips. But there's Robbie with a real hand, Ace-Jack.
Yeah, I mean, feasibly this heads up could last a while. We say this with the heads up. It could last another 8 seconds. Or it could last for several minutes. Just depends how the cards fall. No Limit Hold'em goes like that, especially heads up.
And of course they've got quite a bit of play here.
They have potentially.
Yep.
But they could also end it quickly.
And here's a little encounter. King 9 against pair of deuces. And the pair of 2 says, I'm going to have a crack. And he takes it down. Well, he wouldn't want to see another card.
Yeah, that's levelled it up a little bit. 24 Ginger still has the advantage. And it is a significant advantage. It's only, in percentage terms of the chips, it's not massive. But the key is that 24 Ginger can lose an all-in and Robbie can't.
Well, 24 Ginger's got the top pair. But
versus
Robbie's... Oh, my goodness, he's gone all in with the flush draw.
And quickly, if you like, it's all over.
There we go. And interesting there, because 24 Ginger had been the aggressor. He had put in the raise before the flop.
Yeah.
It looked like the flop was going to be a good one for him. Okay, he's got a flush draw there, Robbie, but just perhaps lost patience. That was difficult against the...
Well, moving in with a flush draw is a play that is used in no limit tournaments a reasonable amount. It's not my favourite play, to be honest, because of that exact problem. If you get called and you miss your flush draw.
I think if there was no 8 in the flop, I think it becomes so much better a play.
Yeah.
Because then is a possibility that your king, if it hits, is a winner. But against the pre-flop raiser, the ace you don't want to see there.
No.
And I think that was the little clue there.
He was hoping, wasn't he?
He was hoping. And I think he just, he could have just perhaps even seen the next card for it, and then, never mind, he's still got enough chips to battle away, even if he has to pass.
I think people do, I mean, heads up, no limit hold'em is very often a fast game just because it's heads up. But I do think most of the heads up we see at the end of night table tournaments, one or sometimes both of the players will panic. I don't know if that's the right word, I don't know if they're panicking on what they're doing, but they make big moves before they have to. We see so many all-ins when the blinds are still relatively small.
See, now that move there, if that was the final of a sit and go, I'm not arguing with it. Because the guy could have raised with anything, and who knows? There's just not enough time to tell. And fair enough, he said, I might as well. End of a sit and go, because there's just not much play. In this final here, there's still quite a lot of play. He can still get away from a hand and still win the tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
We've seen how the chip leader, massive chip leader, has been overtaken and disappeared in 3rd place. And heads up there, one of them had 20 big blinds, the other had 10 big blinds. There's a lot of play left.
There is.
He didn't have to commit his tournament.
No. But,
and we're not just saying that because of the result. It's just the clues were there.
The clues were there. It was an interesting hand, and it is the general observation that people do play too fast heads up. They don't seem to ever want to throw away hands, and they do seem to want to push all their chips in before they have to.
Yeah. So and that's important that we don't mix up our play which we use in a very fast sit and go, where the blind suddenly goes 640, 12, 80. You've got no choice. Don't mix up your play there to where you're playing in a multi-table tournament where you still have time.
Absolutely.
You've got to really recognise where you are.
Well, well played to both of them.
Yeah, well done anyway.
Our winner, 24 Ginger, goes home with $225. Robbie, the gallant runner-up, $135. $5 buy-in with $2 rebuy, so pretty nice return for them.
Yeah, good.
And points for that Poker Night Live Private Members League. Do get involved, guys. Open to anyone. Go to our website, pokernightlive.co.uk, and the forums, and you'll find out how to sign up. We've only got a couple of minutes left. Just before we leave, we're going to leave with a success email. We haven't had one tonight, and it's always nice. This is from Kenrick. Thank you for this, Kenrick. He says, hi guys, great show. I just dropped you a line to let you know how much the show's improved my game. I started poker 5 months ago as a complete novice, and now I'm consistently making money. Good for you. After 5 months, that's impressive. I haven't deposited anything in my bank for 2 months, and altogether I've made $700 playing 4 hours a day on sit and goes.
Wow.
I also played my first live game at my local casino, which was a £20 rebuy, and finished 3rd. Wish I'd done that. I play a tight aggressive game, only playing premium hands with the odd bluff. This strategy is best for me. I can't thank you enough for improving my game. It's no surprise to me you won Best Poker Show, did our producer write this, of the year. Keep up the amazing work and keep out an eye for me on the TV tables. That's Kenrick. We will do. Thank you for that, Kenrick.
Yep.
Sounds horribly slushy, but that is why we're here. We're trying to improve people's games. It's lovely when somebody tells us we have.
No, it's great. As a happy story like that is brilliant, and we want to have more and more happy stories, that's for sure.
More happy stories. Guys, we are pretty much done. Have you had a good night, James?
Yeah, I've really, really enjoyed it.
It's a very good poker, hasn't there?
Yeah.
Some of it played by you.
I know. Amazing, isn't it?
There's actually money in one of our accounts. Fabulous. Let's all go out from here and have a party.
3 figures.
3 figures, my goodness. We also had a royal flush very early in the show. There it is, royal flush for Ryanair, whatever his name is. Ace, King, Queen, Jack 10, all diamonds. Fantastic. Poker Night Live will be back tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. It'll be a beginner's night. Me and James will be back on your screens very soon. But for now, we've got a roll. So it's for James Browning. I'm Nick Wealthall. Word to your mother. See you next time.